Very good morning to you. Welcome to Newsroom. We're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg. I'm Shante Yankee. Standing by with your sports is Kendall Makamate. Very good morning to you, Kendall. You good?
Very good. Looking forward to the weekend. Lots to cover. Massive elective conference we're all looking forward to.
Definitely. Let's start with our question of the day. Speaking of that, what do you hope for this weekend's ANC's 54th elective conference? Let's see what South Africa is hoping for with some of their tweets and social media coming through.
Absolutely. Your first chance to interact with us today. First up, we've got Michael Bingham's toilet saying, I hope sanity will prevail and Dlamini Zuma will be victorious. Be judged based on her goodwill and her leadership skills. Hope that people's hate for their current South African president won't cloud their judgment towards her. And my ANC has long promised the ANC Women's League a female president. And this is it.
Yeah, a lot of people are wanting a female president. Another one coming in here from Nazim at SABC Newsroom. My hopes are to see Ramaphosa winning the conference and kicking Zuma out of the office. Hashtag ANC elective conference. With that being said, also, let's get into the poll for the day. Of course, we do know that the DA has suspended former Mayor Patricia de Lille from all party activities. Of course, we'll have to give you more details of that as to why and what are people saying. What are their views?
Exactly. Like, you know, she's been suspended. She was placed on basically on leave a little earlier. But now I want to find out from you the suspension of Patricia de Lille, former mayor of Cape Town, by the DA. Is it fair? Is it unfair? Or you just don't care? Quite a few votes in.
Well, 60%, 62% of South Africans on Twitter don't care.
Yeah, that's 320 votes in already. That's quite a lot. And I want to see how it goes on throughout the course of the day. About 18% say it's unfair, 20% fair. That's evenly split. Let's see what you're saying on social media about this matter.
Alrighty, the first one there coming in from Nazim again saying, I don't care. The DA is playing a game here. Why must we care for their dirty laundry?
Oh, Nazim, you know where your loyalties lie. Tawa Quincy Peter says, I think the DA took a good decision. One potato can't spoil the whole bag. Remember, 2019 is just around the corner. So Tabo definitely not in Patricia de Lille's corner. Not
at all. We'll be giving you more updates on that as she is also set to respond, as she doesn't want to give reasons as to why she should actually resign. Let's move over to the sporting question of the day. Kendall, what do you have in store for us?
Well, we do know that Amajita made it to the final of COSAFA Cup under 20 tournament, and we want to find out from you. They've been doing extremely well, beating very strong teams on their way through to this final, which is being played over the weekend. So we want you to send us your messages of support for the team.
Let's have a look at what South Africans are hoping for and sending their love. Well, SA has something to smile on national soccer. I don't see Lesotho beating South Africa. I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, they didn't get to the final by ferries and stuff. They got there on their own steam. Nazim Grootboom says, I'm proud of the boys. They must bring the cup home. Hashtag Amajita, SABC News.
Positive thoughts, positive thoughts. And with that being said, though, we'll leave it there for now and we'll have a look at your headlines before we start. Well, the ANC Free State will know today if it will be sending delegates to the ANC elective conference this weekend. Meanwhile, ANC says it's all systems go for the weekend's highly anticipated 54th ANC elective conference this weekend. The City of Cape Town Mayor Patricia de Lille's job hangs in balance as she is asked to give reasons why she shouldn't resign. And Steinhoff's board chairperson, Christo Wiese, steps down as Treasury, calls high-level meeting to discuss the corruption scandal at the state. And Kendall Makamate is standing by, giving you all your headlines with your sports.
Shante, thank you very much. You know what, it seems like this year is not letting up. The news do not stop coming in. Good morning to you. This is what we've got to you in the sports today. South Africa's under-20 football team is proving to be a paragon of excellence as they beat Egypt for the second time in a week, advancing to the final of COSAFA's age group tournament.
I commit that this matter will receive the highest priority in accordance with the law.
Nearly a year after the occurrence, the Premier Soccer League has found Orlando Pirates guilty of contravening the NSL rules following the unruly behavior of spectators in a clash with Mamelodi Sundowns.
Oh, he's gone, Dave Warner, straight after the drinks break.
It's day 2 of the 3rd test in the Ashes series between Australia and England, and it's shaping up to be a humdinger run chase as the hosts look to knock down England's 403-run all-out score. All this and more we've got for you later on at about 10:40. Do stay with Shante though, as she's got the news.
Your top story, the High Court in Bloemfontein is expected to deliver judgment in the ANC Free State court case this afternoon. The applicants want the court to dissolve the provincial ANC leadership elected at the recent conference in Paris. They also want to block the Free State from sending delegates to the ANC conference at Nasrec this weekend.
A protracted legal tussle involving warring ANC factions. Disgruntled members, supporters of Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, say delegates at the provincial conference were nominated from illegal branch general meetings. Applicants add that the party has disobeyed the November 29 court order. They want the Free State ANC to be prohibited from sending more than 400 delegates to the 54th National Conference. Ousted Free State ANC Deputy Chair Thabo Manyoni has also deposed affidavit in which he decried alleged irregularities at the biennial branch general meetings.
In this case, you are in a far worse situation because the irregularities are there, but now we have an extra leg, so to speak, which is that there was actually a court order that says thou shalt not hold that conference, and you did.
The ANC has described its former Free State Deputy Chair Thabo Manyoni as a sole loser. Free State Transport and Police MEC Butana Kompela has also broken the ranks with the Free State ANC PEC.
But the notion of a 70% threshold is there in the ANC in order to legitimize a conference.
Applicants are no longer challenging the legality of the Provincial General Council, saying the event has already taken place. The PGC has endorsed former AU Commission Chair and ANC MP Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma for the ANC presidency. Tebohole Tsaba, SABC News, Bloemfontein.
Meanwhile, ANC Deputy President and one of the presidential candidates, Cyril Ramaphosa, says the ANC versus ANC court battles are a sign that ANC members love the party. While speaking to SABC News, Ramaphosa said the ANC will try and strengthen internal systems for members, raising issues within instead of going to the courts.
For me, it shows a clear demonstration of the love that our members have for their movement. That they say we want to be in rather than be out. We want to be part of this process of renewing the ANC. And one of the proposals that are going to conference in terms of constitutional amendments is we should create a forum, a platform, a structure through which our members, rather than rush to court, will go to this structure that will be a dispute resolution structure. And it is actually quite interesting that the judge in another court case, which was launched just a week ago, actually admonished ANC members. And he said, you know, the modern thing now with disputes all over is to try and find a resolution for your disputes before you come to us to court. And we are hoping that we will cement that type of culture, that ANC members, ANC structures should first seek to resolve problems. Now, I see this in positive light, that people love their movement so much. So what we need to do is to turn them inwards so that the problems are resolved.
Well, my colleague Peter Ndoro has been quite up early this morning to give us all the latest developments from Nasrec. He joins us live from the venue of the ANC elective conference right now. Very good morning to you, Peter. Well, which well-known delegates have arrived there at the moment?
Good morning to you, Shante. I'm told that 3 provinces have arrived already so far, but I can't remember off the top of my head which ones. But the rest of them are starting to come through, and this has been done purposely to stagger them so that logistically that they'll be able to be processed and things can go through seamlessly. But 3 provinces, I believe, have already arrived, and the others are expected during the course of today. And as we were hearing from Zizi Kodwa a little bit earlier on, you know, they've worked very hard for a number of years now just to tighten up on the processes to make sure that those that are supposed to be here are here and that they are properly credited and their credentials are verified, I suppose to anticipate any problems that might arise during the conference. But they seem very confident that this is a tight ship and that it's going to be disciplined, and the right people who are supposed to be here will be here and will be able to exercise their vote. Shante?
With that being said, is it fair to say that it's all systems go for the conference to actually take place tomorrow?
Yeah, you know, Zizi Kodwa was very adamant in saying that an event of this size and of this nature takes years of preparation. This isn't something that happens in the year of the event, and they'd been working on this, he says, as far back as 4 years ago. It is possibly one that's garnered the most media attention ever. He said something in the order of 4,000 media houses had applied for accreditation from all over the world to be part of this. So in total, they're expecting over 6,000 people, delegates and non-participating people, including the media, to descend upon Nasrec. And all of that requires a lot of planning, a lot of administration. And he says that they're ready. So we can only take them at their word. But in all the other events of the ANC that we've seen in the past, they seem to always get their ducks in a row. So there's no reason to believe that this one is going to be any different.
Definitely. Thank you very much for taking us through the developments currently at Nasrec in the south of Johannesburg. Our SABC News anchor Peter Ndoro coming to us live. Meanwhile, the ANC has vowed that this weekend's conference will not be collapsed by disgruntled members.
The outgoing NEC members on their final inspection of the conference venue. The walkabout was led by Secretary General Gwede Mantashe, who, like the entire national executive, will hand over the baton to the new leadership. Mantashe is satisfied with the preparations for the conference.
Conference is going to be successful. It is not going to collapse. Those who predicted a conference that will collapse, I'm sure they're disappointed already. They may try other tricks, but the conference is on its way to the proper ending of a conference of the ANC. It will be going to be the most organized.
The party is also confident that the elections will run smoothly.
Sunday will have a new president.
At the heart of many leaders' hopes is that this conference will restore unity within the deeply divided organization.
Almost all the leaders are saying unity is critical for the ANC to survive going forward. All of us are committed to unity. We want this conference to succeed.
This is a flaw of democracy, which will be demonstrated here from Saturday. I don't think there must be panic, there must be anxiety and so on. The ANC says its best in terms of adhering to its own democratic principles.
The road leading to this conference has been rocky, with an avalanche of court cases across provinces which have threatened to collapse it. The nomination process by the branches was marked in some cases by irregularities, which led to some of the court challenges. Montlengani Dipoko, SABC News, Nasrec, Johannesburg.
Meanwhile, ANC spokesperson has reiterated that ill discipline will not be tolerated during the conference. Kodwa was speaking to the SABC News this morning on the sidelines of the conference.
What is important, we've got absolute commitment from the entire leadership of all provinces as heads of delegations, that they are committed to make sure they will help us to run a very smooth, disciplined conference. Should anybody, for whatever reason, 1 or 2 persons, think that they will come here to disrupt the conference, I can only give them and wish them well, because we're not going to allow any ill discipline and disruption. one person who tries anything, you'll be taken out of the conference without touching the ground, and will disqualify you as a delegate to this conference forever. And will subject you to any disciplinary action, which we think is important for the organization, because this conference must break with the past and make sure that we set at least the future from all ill discipline which we have seen so far. We want to make sure that we reasset the discipline, organizational and political discipline of the organization. So no amount of disruption, whatever views you might have, at the end of the day, you must respect the presidium. You must respect the chair when the chair of the presidium says, sit down, stop singing, and so on. So we want to reassert the authority of leadership, because at the end of the day, this conference, like I said yesterday, it's not about ANC. We are here on behalf of the nation. We are here, we are given a historical responsibility by history that ourselves were a leadership, but this organization is not for the ANC members. It's for millions of people who are watching, who are hopeful that at the end of this conference, their desire and aspirations shall be addressed.
Well, the majority of the Eastern Cape's nearly 650 delegates will be arriving in Johannesburg this morning for the ANC's highly anticipated 54th National Conference. They departed late last night, aiming to get some much-needed rest ahead of the 5-day conference. The province brings with it the third biggest voting bloc, largely supporting Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa.
In song and in dance, they jumped onto the coaches on a 1,000-kilometer journey to Johannesburg to play their role in the revival and renewal of the ANC as its 54th National Conference kicks off on Saturday. Apart from the crucial policy discussions set to take place, Africa's oldest liberation movement will also elect its new leader to take over the reins from President Jacob Zuma, whose term comes to an end. Branch nominations have confirmed Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa and former AU Commission Chairperson Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma as front-runners. But the province is clear on who it will vote for to take the party forward.
Definitely confident that the Deputy President, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, will emerge in that conference as an ANC president to take ANC to another level. It's not a question of just supporting, but we are quite happy that we are not just putting people for the sake of putting them. We are putting people who are competent as deputy presidents. That's the reason why we don't have doubts and reason not to support a deputy president to become a president.
With the memories of the chaotic and violent provincial elective conference still fresh on their memories, the delegates have called for a peaceful and dignified national conference. As the bus pulls off, the Eastern Cape delegations carries with it hopes of a successful national conference that will elect leadership capable of restoring the party's dignity and unite its members going forward. Unatiping was SABC News, King Williamstown.
Well, in studio for this whole hour, we do have political analyst Professor Tiniku Maluleke. A very good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Morning, Chante.
Well, firstly, Professor, for someone who has returned from a rather long distance trip and out of the loop, what would you tell or what would we describe for this weekend's upcoming election?
Well, it's the biggest thing happening in South Africa this week. And I think this is a moment that not only members of the ANC, but the entire country has been waiting for this moment, looking up to it, because it is a weekend where not only the leadership election is important, but the fact that we will get a little bit more clarity in terms of policy for the entire country going forward. Crucial policy issues, the economic approach that the country is going to use, the captain of the ship who is likely to become the captain of the country in a year's time when the national elections come. And given the problems that the country has had over the past 3, 4, 5 years, in fact, the past 10 years, I think this is quite a crucial election. There is no South African who can afford to look away. Even if they do, it's a conference that's going to affect them.
Now, regardless of the outcomes of this elective conference, how is this going to be changing the dynamic and the political landscape with regards to this elective conference in specific, and having a look at all the factions as well as the legalities leading up to the conference?
Well, I think for the ANC, it's a defining moment to start with, because the ANC needs to find itself. The ANC needs to, the word that we've had so often, self-correct. This is the moment when we know whether the ANC can self-correct or not. So it's a self-correcting moment for the ANC. It is a moment for the ANC to look in the mirror, to look at itself. But it needs to do more than that. It needs to ask itself about its historical mandate and whether over the past few years the ANC has been keeping to that historical mandate, or it has been straying from it. Now, many people, myself included, feel that the ANC has been straying from its historical mandate, and that something amiss is going on right at the heart of the ANC, and this is the moment that perhaps they can begin to mend that. Conference is not going to answer all of the questions, solve all of the problems of the ANC, but it's an important starting point.
Now, we've also seen with the run-up of the election headlining, specifically within the party, a divided ANC. Do we think that this elective conference, regardless of the outcome, is going to make the ANC want to take a step back in actually working towards creating a more united front?
The notions of unity and division need to be unpacked a little bit more, because what is the ANC divided over? What are the causes of the divisions? And when we talk about unity, what kind of united ANC do we want to see? Unity for what? Because there are people who speak of unity sometimes, and for me it sounds as if they want a united ANC to stay the same. In other words, be united, stay the same, keep the status quo, no matter what. And that's what they mean by unity.
Professor, what are your, just to interrupt you there, apologies, what are your views on ANC spokesperson Zizi Kodwa's comments with regards to ill discipline in the National Elective Conference, as well as that they'll be taking a no stones unturned approach?
Yes, he says people will be carried out without their feet touching the ground. I think the message is clear that the ANC is determined to make sure that there's discipline, and that's the right kind of message one wants to hear, because there's been all sorts of speculations about disruption, about ill discipline, and for Luthuli House to be sending out a clear message to all delegates at this point is crucial. I think it's a good thing to say. I hope that they don't need to carry anyone out of the hall without their feet touching the ground. That the warning itself should be enough to prevent it. That's what one hopes for. But I think it's good that they plan for any eventuality, and they are prepared to deal with it. Because let's face it, if this conference is disrupted, if there's a lot of ill discipline in this conference, what will it do? It will reinforce the perception that the ANC is in chaos, that the ANC is disintegrating, that the Zuma presidency has brought us to this point. It's not good for anyone in the ANC. Not a single faction of the ANC will benefit if there is ill discipline in this conference.
And with regards to all the court cases that we've seen in nullifying, some of the elective conferences and the outcomes, but we'll get back to that now. Let's just have a look at news that is coming in. The Pietermaritzburg High Court is also set to rule on the ANC KZN PEC appealing the case this morning. The PEC is actually appealing the earlier decision nullifying the 2015 provincial conference results. Do stay tuned to DSTV channel 404. Of course, for more updates on this story. Well, let's move on now. Finance Minister Malusi Gigaba has called a high-level meeting today to discuss the corruption scandal at Steinhoff. Treasury says various stakeholders will be involved in the talks, including the CEO initiative, the Manufacturing Circle, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and the Independent Regulatory Board for Auditors. Well, the company has suffered another blow. Businessman Christy Visa has stepped down as chairperson of Steinhoff. He says he offered to resign to reinforce independent governance of the company. Steinhoff has accepted Visa's resignation and appointed Heather Sun, a member of its supervisory board, to act as chairperson. The company moved its primary shared listing from Johannesburg to Frankfurt 2 years ago and has been under investigation for suspected accounting irregularities in Germany since 2015. 4 current and former managers are under suspicion of having lied about revenues at subsidiaries. Well, the CCMA has offered to mediate in the wage dispute between the SABC and the unions, BMAU, as well as the CWU. A meeting is expected to take place today. Staff affiliated to the unions went on strike yesterday to demand a 10% salary increase. The SABC is offering a 4.5% backdated to October, but only to be paid out next year. And the federal executive, in some other news of the DA, has suspended City of Cape Town Mayor Patricia de Lille from all party activities. Well, this follows ongoing investigations into a series of reports and an affidavit containing allegations of maladministration. She has also been asked to give reasons why she shouldn't resign as mayor. Well, the DA spokesperson Phumzile Van Dam said the subcommittee found sufficient management and governance-related challenges prevalent in the DA City of Cape Town caucus. Several issues of the subcommittee looked into, including de Lille's shutting down of the city's Special Investigations Unit, which resulted in a spat between her and the mayoral committee member for Safety, Security and Social Services, JP Smith. In October, the DA placed de Lille and Smith on special leave from party activities while the investigation took place. Let's have a look at our picture of the day. Today it comes from Tando Nkala. Of course, Nelson Mandela University's new top 3 heads are all black women. Chancellor Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, Vice Chancellor Sibongile Mutwa, Chair of Council Nozipho January Bartiel. That one there coming in from the picture of the day. And we'll also be moving on, and it's quite promising there. Quite happy also that it's all 3 women, black excellence, if one wants to call that. Let's also look at comment of the day coming from Cyril Ramaphosa. We are going out to emerge, hashtag ANC 54, stronger and more united. We're going to come out reinvigorated with renewed energy as the alliance. We realize that we need each other and the alliance is important for the country. Of course, that coming in there from Cyril Ramaphosa there with his views with regards to the ANC electoral conference as it is set to kick off this weekend. Let's also have a look at what's taking place in and around our courts today in South Africa. We'll start off in the Gauteng province. Well, a suspect is expected to appear in the Johannesburg Specialized Commercial Crime Court today for allegedly defrauding a medical equipment company of 460 million rand. The suspect was arrested on Wednesday following a 3-month investigation. The suspect's 11 luxury vehicles, motorbikes, 7 immovable properties with their furniture, appliances and jewellery have all been attached. We'll move on to KZN. A 42-year-old suspect is also expected to appear in the Durban Magistrates Court this morning after he was arrested for being in possession with estimated street value of 200,000 rand at point in Durban. The Police Provincial Drug Unit task team conducted an intelligence-driven operation targeting and eradicating the drug trade in the Durban CBD and surroundings, especially in the Point area. Police also recovered more than 550 pills of ecstasy, 150 grams of cocaine, meth and rock cocaine. The area is notorious for drugs and prostitution, and we will be keeping you updated on the development of these cases. With that being said, let's take a short break. Do stay tuned to Newsroom with myself, Ashanti Yankees, and the team.
The ANC's 54th National Conference is here. The branches have spoken. From the 7 candidates, 2 are leading. Who will emerge victorious? SABC News will bring you the National Conference coverage live from Naswick Daily on TV, radio and digital platforms from 16 December. We cross live, give updates and cover sport.
The observer missions, what are they saying?
It will be a very difficult announcement to make, to say whether these elections have been free and fair.
1 in every 100 people are diagnosed with arthritis daily. In an effort to raise awareness, a handful of elderly women, they took to the streets of Soweto to stretch their fight against the ailment.
Western Province upset the Sharks by 33 points to 21 to be crowned the 2017 Currie Cup champions at the Kings Park Stadium.
In Durban.
On time with weather every hour, all the time. For all news, stay tuned to AM News every Saturday and Sunday at 10:00 hours Central African Time.
Welcome back. Well, back to the ANC National Elective Conference. The Steinhoff scandal was also one of the topics discussed earlier in an exclusive interview with Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa says people who are involved in corruption must be followed up with fear without prejudice.
We've got to have an overarching type of approach. I mean, what has happened in Steinhoff is deplorable. It is, you know, a system that has really gone horribly, horribly wrong. We should never have had a situation like that where greed becomes the key driver of what people want to do and benefit from. And corruption has always been seen as a public sector type of problem. But now we can see that in the private sector, corruption is quite rife. And we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg with Steinhoff. And that is where we say those who are involved in Steinhoff, much as it may look like it's a private company, its operations, its business, you know, impacts on a lot of people. There must be investigation, there must be arrests, and there must be jail time for people who are perpetrating these acts, because they impact on the lives of government employees, pensioners, and indeed the public. So our task as a regulator, which is government, is to make sure that we protect the public, we protect the people of South Africa. It is deplorable. And this is what then feeds into this notion about South Africa, that this corruption is so rife, but it's always been seen like it's only in the state, and yet it is in the private sector as well.
You've sat on both sides of this,
yes.
Public sector, private sector. Are there conversations taking place to talk about things like corruption? Because For people at home, we watch and we just hear stories about corruption on both sides of the equation. How do we deal with it?
The main focus has always been in government. That, you know, when people look at us in government, they always say, oh, they are a corrupt bunch of people. We've never really focused on corruption that takes place in the private sector. The Chief Justice the other day at the university was saying, we never hear about corruption in the private sector and what happens to those who are caught. And we are saying there must be equal treatment. There must, and the media must focus on both. We must be able to, you know, reveal everything that's happening, because it is when we reveal what is happening that we are then able to correct the challenges and the problems that are there.
You talk about jail time, private sector.
Yes.
Are we going to see the same in the public sector? Because the perception, again, is that the higher up you're in the food chain, the less likely it is that you will go to jail. We see people are saying there's this lethargy by the authorities to go after people that are specifically named in things like the Gupta emails.
Yeah, I know my take is, you know, we have got a constitution, the best constitution in the world, people say, which has an important value, which is rule of law. There must be rule of law. And rule of law means that those who have done wrong against the people of South Africa must be followed up without fear or favor or prejudice. They must be taken to book. They must be accountable. They must be responsible for the things that they have done wrong. Because when you do something wrong and you do it intentionally against the people of the country, for me, that is almost like treason, because you're acting against the interests of the public. So you must be followed up. And therefore, that's why I've been saying the justice system must follow
but you don't
all those who are responsible.
Well, political analyst Professor Taniko Maluleke is still here with us in studio discussing the conference that is starting tomorrow. Thank you very much for still staying with us. Professor, what do you make of Cyril Ramaphosa's comments with regards to his view on state capture and as well as the Steinhoff saga?
Well, I think it's important for a presidential candidate to speak clearly about state capture because this has been the issue that is unfolding in the country. If you like, the carpet is being pulled from underneath the feet of South Africans. And if you wanted to look for a word that describes this moment in our history, state capture is that word. And if a candidate is unable to speak articulately, clearly about that, then you have problems. And I think he did well. He spoke very well about it. He clearly recognizes its importance, its existence, doesn't even pretend that it doesn't exist, and also shares intentions to deal with it. I'm not so sure that his plans as to how to deal with it are any clearer than anything we have seen. So I think there may need to be a little bit more work from his side to tell us how precisely he's going to deal with the state capture. But he certainly recognizes it as something that pulls us back. And I think it's important that he linked his comments to those of the Chief Justice about corruption in the private sector, because this has been a neglected area. In fact, continues to be. The media seems a lot more excited by corruption in the public sector than in the private sector. And I think it's a problem that we need to deal with. I understand why the media is more interested in public sector corruption, because that's taxpayers' money. But what money is not taxpayers' money in an economy, really? Because there is always a link between what happens in the public sector and what happens in the public sector, in the private sector. So I think Steinhoff is a very important moment, and we are all watching what Steinhoff will do. They've done a few things now. I don't think they've done anything nearly adequate
to deal with the crisis they are in. We are all watching what the media will do around Steinhoff. And I don't think they've done enough either. And we are watching what government will do about Steinhoff. So I hear that Gigaba is acting, and I think that's encouraging.
Having a look at state capture as a whole, what are your views on the High Court ruling judgment on state capture in South Africa?
This week's judgments were quite, I think they are epoch-making in many ways. They are history-making. They can be appealed, of course, but I don't know if there's much prospect of success on appeal. I mean, what was very significant is that the judiciary has now recognized state capture as one of the biggest threats to South African democracy. Not in so many words, Judge Mlambo said it during when he was reading out the judgments this week. And I think it's important for South African citizens to know that their judiciary takes the state capture as seriously as these judgments indicate. Secondly, what these judgments say is that no one, including the president, is above the law, and that the time may soon come to an end when politicians will drag on and drag on and drag on cases like this because the taxpayer is paying for it, which is why they have now said the president has to pay from his own pocket. In any other democracy, we would have had a president either stepping aside or resigning this week. But I think we have long gotten used to that, the fact that this is not about to happen, has not happened around Gandha, has not happened in Parliament. So there's going to be no resignation. But I think that the noose is closing in.
Definitely. Let's hold it there, Prof. Let's also have a look at some of the remaining SABC News exclusive interviews that had taken place with Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, also reflecting on the ANC's achievements through the National Development Plan, which he also earmarked as small businesses through empowerment. Let's have a look.
As an SMME owner, the NDP talks about the power of small and medium enterprises to drive our economy, to create more jobs. And that's precisely what we are now doing through the various other efforts that we are doing through the Pakisas. For instance, we launched a Pakisa on the oceans economy. And much of what is being done, and we've got 70 billion rand, which has been attracted by the work we're doing through the oceans economy. And the oceans economy is inspired by the National Development Plan. And what is it doing? It's already helping a number of small and medium enterprises to be created, to be strengthened, and to get up and going. So people need to look at what we are doing on a holistic basis rather than on a piecemeal basis. For instance, as part of all this, we came up with the 9-point plan. Some of the things the 9-point plan spoke about, and even the DA does not even understand this. The things that we spoke about was make sure that we no longer have load shedding. That has been achieved. We spoke about the national minimum wage. That has been achieved. To continue driving infrastructure, that is being achieved. To focus on the oceans economy, that is now being driven. 70 billion rand has been brought into the economy. So many of the things that we are about are happening because of a plan, and we're not doing anything outside a plan. And all we are now also focusing on is we now need to move our economy to recovery. We want to make our economy recover because we don't want our economy to continue being a 1% growth economy. This economy deserves to be at 5% and even more.
Also staying with us in studio is Professor Tuniko Maluleke. Thank you very much, Professor, for your time this morning. Let's just have a look at some of those views there coming in from Cyril Ramaphosa with regards to the ANC's National Development Plan that they had, in specific to the promotion and the development of small businesses and empowerment.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that in that area, that is an area where the ANC and this administration, ANC government, hasn't really covered themselves in glory. The truth of the matter is that for long periods, the National Development Plan looks like an orphan. It is like a child who was born and no one wants to take ownership of that child. It has been forgotten in the process. In fact, had the National Development Plan not been forgotten, we wouldn't be talking about state capture today. State capture has taken the place of National Development Plan. There hasn't been much ownership of it. There hasn't been much direct, even reference to it has been few and far between from ministers over the past few years. So I hope that Cyril is being serious when he says it is the anchor policy, because that's what we thought, that it may not be a plan in the technical sense of the word, but that it provides the vision and the direction that the government and the country wants to follow.
Now, in an interview that we had on here on SABC with Cyril Ramaphosa, he mentioned that ANC members and ANC members that are actually going to courts and fighting and protesting outside courts peacefully, in fact, show that they have love for the party. With that being said, what are your views on the pending case with regards to the ANC Free State judgment on nullifying the elections?
Yeah, you know, there is no point in debating whether people should go to court or not. And I think that all those discussions within the ANC that are aimed at discouraging people from going to court are actually superfluous, because this is a democracy and the courts are available for anyone who is unhappy to approach them. And we don't want to hear that people should be prevented from going to court. But this court, this outstanding one that you are asking me about, of course its outcome is very important, because
in fact, I'm just seeing now that the court actually nullified the 2015 provincial conference results. Your views on that?
Well, I think that was to be expected in many ways, because that has been the previous court's decision. Obviously, the upper court has found that there is no reason to change that decision. It does mean that your Sihle Zikalala and his team may have no standing in the conference. One would have to study it closely. I think it might mean that, but I don't think it affects the general delegates from the branches necessarily. So I don't think it's a conference wrecking judgment in any way, but it will be morally quite significant for KZN.
Now, moving away from that in just a bit, so with regards to this morning's headlines, of course, City of Mayor Patricia de Lille being suspended from party activities and also being asked to give reasons why she should not resign. What are your views?
Yeah, I think they are giving her less and less room to maneuver, less and less space to operate. She is a mayor under siege. And I think we should expect pretty soon a resignation announcement from her. I don't see her holding on to this position for long. Maybe she should just have Christmas and Good New Year, and then after that tell the nation what her plans are. But her party is abandoning her.
Do you then feel that this is some sort of an underlying motive?
Well, I don't necessarily think there's something sinister, but what is clear is that her party is systematically dissociating itself from her, and she's only mayor because of her party. So if her mayor is, you know, cutting all the links between itself and its mayor, what does that say to you? It says, get out of this position. And I wish the party was a little bit more forthcoming instead of just tightening the noose around her neck slowly like they are doing now. Very soon she will speak for no one. She will represent no one except herself. You don't want that if you are a mayor of a city as important as the city of Cape Town.
Let's wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining us in studio this morning, Professor Tiniko Maluleke, talking all things ANC elective conference, as well as the professor's views there with regards to the DA suspending Cape Town Mayor Patricia de Lille. Look now at some of the front pages from around the globe. We will start in Europe this time. Well, the Times reports that a judge has called for an inquiry after the trial of a student accused of rape collapsed because police had failed to reveal evidence proving his innocence. In the Big Apple, moving to New York, the Financial Times says EU leaders aspired on migration policy into the early hours of Friday as contentious new plans laid bare deep divisions over how to deal with the next crisis. And finally, in Israel, the Jerusalem Post reports that approximately 80 residents of East Jerusalem have been arrested since President Donald Trump announced that the U.S. recognizes the city as the capital of Israel over involvement in protests against the move. Let's take a short break. Do stay tuned to Newsroom with myself, Shanti Sati.
A very good morning to you, and thank you so much indeed for choosing Morning Live.
But I want to know the basic thing.
Griselda Lewis, SABC News, in Parktown, Johannesburg.
Zimbabwe, Mzondeli Mbeje, SABC News, Luanda, Angola.
Let's take a look at your market indicators.
Thanks for staying with Morning Live. Let's bring you your sports news.
Let's take a look at your satellite image.
Set the agenda for the day with Morning Live.
Rights and recourse tackles constitutional issues.
When South Africa became a constitutional democracy, we had a fairly sound legal system in place requiring the Constitution to guide the direction in which it must go and the way in which it must be refashioned.
The Justice Ministry, the custodian of human rights.
We actually have a plan to come up with a comprehensive review of our human rights instruments.
Advocates dealing with evidence.
Sometimes you have to use a crook to catch a crook. So we expected that the credibility would really be taken to task. You try and consult your witnesses and prepare them as best as you can.
Hashtag Rights with Dumila Matez on legal issues every Sunday at 2 o'clock Central African Time.
Well, a very warm welcome back. Let's take a look at what's happening in terms of the weather. We'll start off today by taking a look at our current situation. Here we're expecting quite a bit of storms to develop through Central African Republic here, as well as the DRC. We're expecting up to a 60% chance of showers in some of these regions, and that extends through, as you can see, the northern parts of Namibia all the way through Malawi for today. Expecting some storms, and indeed in some areas expecting it to rain almost throughout the entire day. So a lot of wet weather for Southern Africa's northern regions, as well as Northern Africa's southern regions. Well, Central Africa's southern regions, should I say. Taking a look at South Africa's weather today, we're expecting no continuous rainfall at all. We did see some morning drizzle, and that may still be continuing along the eastern escarpment. But for the most part, we're going to see a fairly mild day for today through South Africa. It's going to be a warm to hot one both today and tomorrow. But tomorrow, we see that low pressure systems are starting to connect from continental low pressures to coastal lows. And that's going to start to bring in quite a bit of rainfall through South Africa's central and interior. Storms expected primarily for tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening in that central interior and the eastern coastline. So be aware of that. Now, in a little bit more detail, this is what's going on in your city today. Cape Town peaks at 30 degrees Celsius. We're seeing temperatures in the northern parts of the country fairly warm, especially in the northwest. Uppington 39 and Springbok 34. It's going to be a little bit of wet weather forecast around the Mbombela area, and that's the morning drizzle we spoke of. But that really shouldn't last long, and we should be left with just a partly cloudy day. Harare is at 24 degrees, expecting the wet weather and the cloud cover for today as well. Gaborone 33 degrees, and Windhoek peaking at 35. Now, Windhoek's not expecting rainfall at the moment, but will do most likely into tomorrow. So a dry day for today. Mahajanga 34 degrees Celsius. It's a hot one there in the northern parts of Madagascar. The capital 27 degrees in Antananarivo. If you're going to be back onto continental Africa, as we said, we're seeing a lot of cloud cover and a lot of rainfall in some areas, but towards the east around the Mombasa, Dar es Salaam area, well, we're just seeing a little bit of a lull in that rainfall there. Temperatures reaching above the 30-degree mark, and humidity is high in these areas. Kinshasa and Brazzaville both peak at 32 degrees, both expecting wet weather, but moving north to Bangui, another sunny and dry day with a 40-degree maximum. Continues very hot in the area. Now, rainfall in the northern hemisphere of Africa is concentrated mostly towards the western regions. We do have some around Port Sudan, and it's lighter rainfall, but towards the west and the northwest in particular, again expecting wet weather in Algeria's interior for today as well as for tomorrow. For tomorrow, though, we are going to expect that to migrate a little bit further north and mostly concentrate around Tunisia and the northern coastlines of Algeria. We're left with just some higher to mid-level cloud cover over the interior Sahara regions, Niger clear all the way throughout tomorrow, unlike today though. This is where we're going to leave your weather for now. Stay tuned with us here on the SABC.
Climate change. It is normal for the weather to be severe. We have had instances of catastrophic weather. There are recordings of extremes that date back to the 1600s, like the grapefruit-sized hail in France. However, in South Africa, we have mostly experienced floods, droughts, and strong winds. All these extreme weather events are normal and always expected to happen time after time. Our beautiful planet has been warming up due to human activities like the burning of fossil fuels and production of energy.
Our dependence on coal and oil is the main problem. We need to make a big shift to the renewable forms of energy and to nuclear energy, and use those two increasingly in combination. So it is very likely that we are going to overshoot this 1.5 degrees Celsius target.
Yes.
Perhaps we can still avoid the 2-degree threshold. But we need to change the way in which we live on the planet, and that is a very, very big challenge.
Power stations, deforestation, combustion of fossil fuels in cars, and methane released from landfills. Greenhouse gases are natural gases essential for needed warmth of the earth by acting like a blanket. The thicker the blanket, the warmer our planet becomes. At the same time, the Earth's oceans are also absorbing some of this extra carbon dioxide, making them more acidic and less hospitable for sea life. Global temperature rises increase the occurrence of high fire danger conditions. Currently, the extreme weather occurrences are becoming more frequent.
We are expecting gradual increases in temperature in Cape Town, which means more evaporation, drier vegetation along the Cape South Coast, so more fire-prone conditions. But unfortunately, because of climate change, these seasons of drought in the southwestern Cape are also projected to occur more and more frequently as we move deeper into the century. So I think our vulnerability in Cape Town to drought and water scarcity is unfortunately only going to increase.
Rainfall futures remain uncertain, but significant rainfall reductions are projected to occur from the west to east. At -3 degrees Celsius, Western Cape receives lots of rain and snow. Currently, we are approaching a 1.5 degree mark, and Western Cape will become drier, potentially devastating impacts on livestock. Let's all be responsible with our emissions and electricity usage. For more climate change, catch us every Friday on Weather or Not 10 to 5 South African Standard Time.
A lot of us rely on tech to survive, and Africa is already a mobile-first continent.
We build mobile technology that connects motorcycle taxis to commuters and businesses in real time.
My phone was the most important thing.
Africans are using technology to innovate. On Network, we have African technology and social media news. Even robots have heard about us.
Hello, watch Network on SABC.
For African technology and social media news, join Ms. Phumelele Zondi on Network every Sunday at 9 p.m.
Good morning to you and welcome to Newsroom. We're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg. I'm Shantae Yankees. Standing by with your sports is Kendall Matramata. A very good morning to you, Kendall. You good?
Yeah, very good. Looking forward to a massive weekend, both sporting-wise as well as an elective conference.
Definitely. With that being said, the question of today, what are your hopes from this weekend's ANC's 54th elective conference? We're having a look at your tweets and comments that you've been sending throughout the morning.
Yeah, let's see what's being said by you. Look, here we are. We've got Nazim Grootboom. He's been quite active this entire morning. He says the delegates need to respect the outcomes of the conference. We don't want to see blood flowing from flying chairs.
Nazim has been quite active this morning. Another one coming in from Michael. We also had him on this morning. It's quite long, and he has also been giving his views coming in. Michael and both Nazim very active on social media this morning.
It'll be quite nice to see if we can get Michael's tweet back up, because I think he had quite some pertinent points to share with the rest of our viewers, because we want to find out from you, what are you expecting from the ANC's elective conference this weekend? And both Nazim and Michael have got tweets for us, which hopefully we'll be able to get a little later.
Well, we've managed to get some updates from our SABC News anchor, Peter Ndoro. Of course, it was all systems go this morning. Seems that everything is set up, but a very exciting weekend ahead. Let's have a look at the poll for today, though. The DA suspends former Mayor Patricia de Lille from all party activities, Kendall.
Yeah, and we've got some questions for you. We want you to interact with this as well. We've got three options. Do you think it's been fair of the DA? Do you think it's unfair of the DA? Or you just don't care?
Well, South Africa on Twitter just does not care, Kendall, at an overwhelming 63% there.
533 votes in already. That's 500,000 already in, and the majority of them do not care either way, whereas 21% say it's fair that the DA has suspended her, and a little less than last time, 16% say it's unfair.
Let's have a look at some other comments that are coming in. Another one here from Fauzia. It says, if found guilty and evidence is produced, then Diddle must pack her bags and go. Well, Fauzia there having her views quite fair.
Absolutely, and Kutalo Runtanga says it's just fair.
Well, there you have it. Is it going to be fair this weekend for the Amajita?
Well. Absolutely. They're actually standing by. They're going to be in the final of the COSAFA Cup under 20. We want to find out from you, what do you make of their chances? And while you're at it, send us your messages of support for the team.
Let's have a look at some of the views coming in, if there is support there. Go Amajita, go. Yes, this is what we like to see. Patriotic South Africans, that's when they're coming in from Thabo.
Yes, and Siafana says, good luck to Amajita. We're proud of you guys. Yes, we certainly are. We already have a world champion team, the Blitzboker. Let's hope that, and the Banyana, they won the COSAFA Cup. Let's hope that Amajita do the same.
Indeed. Good luck to our boys. Before we continue, though, let's have a look at this morning's headlines. Well, ANC Free State will know today if it will be sending delegates to the ANC elective conference this weekend. Meanwhile, ANC says it's all systems go for this weekend's highly anticipated 54th ANC elective conference this weekend. The City of Cape Town Mayor Patricia de Lille's job hangs in the balance as mayor, as she has been asked to give reasons why she should not resign. Steinhoff's board chairperson, Christo Visa, steps down as Treasury calls high-level meetings to discuss the corruption scandal at Steinhoff. And what is coming up in your sports? Well, Keno Makamato takes us through to give us details.
Shante, thank you very much. Hearty good morning to you at home as well. We've got a massive weekend of sports ahead of us, and we start with this. Now, South Africa's under-20 football team is proving to be a paragon of excellence as they beat Egypt for the second time in a week, advancing to the final of COSAFA's age group tournament.
I commit that this matter will receive the highest priority in accordance with the law.
Nearly a year after this occurrence, the Premier Soccer League has found Orlando Pirates guilty of contravening NSL rules following the unruly behavior of spectators in a clash with Mamelodi Sundowns.
He's gone, Dave Warner, straight after the drinks break.
And it's day 2 of the third test in the Ashes series between Australia and England, and it's shaping up to be a humdinger run chase as the hosts look to knock down England's 403-run all-out score. Now, all this will have in more detail around about 10:40. Do stay with Shante, though, as she's got the news.
Thank you very much for that, Kendall. Well, we'll start our bulletin with breaking news. The Pietermaritzburg High Court is set to rule on the ANC, KZN, PEC appeal case this morning. The PEC is appealing the earlier decision nullifying the 2015 Provincial Conference results. Do stay tuned to DSTV channel 404 for more updates on this story. Well, moving on, the High Court in Bloemfontein is expected to deliver judgments in the ANC Free State court case this afternoon. The applicants want the court to dissolve the provincial ANC leadership elected at the recent conference in Paris. They also want to block the Free State from sending delegates to the ANC conference at Nasrec this weekend.
A protracted legal tussle involving warring ANC factions. Disgruntled members, supporters of Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, say delegates at the provincial conference were nominated from illegal branch general meetings. Applicants add that the party has disobeyed the November 29 court order. They want the Free State ANC to be prohibited from sending more than 400 delegates to the 54th National Conference. Ousted Free State ANC Deputy Chair Thabo Manyoni has also deposed affidavit in which he decried alleged irregularities at the biennial branch general meetings.
In this case, you are in a far worse situation because the irregularities are there, but now we have an extra leg, so to speak, which is that there was actually a court order that says thou shalt not hold that conference, and you did.
The ANC has described its former Free State Deputy Chair Thabo Manyoni as a sole loser. Free State Transport and Police MEC Butana Kompela has also broken the ranks with the Free State ANC PEC.
But the notion of a 70% threshold is there in the ANC in order to legitimize a conference.
Applicants are no longer challenging the legality of the Provincial General Council, saying the event has already taken place. The PGC has endorsed former AU Commission Chair and ANC MP Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma for the ANC presidency. Tebohole Tsaba, SABC News, Bloemfontein.
Meanwhile, ANC Deputy President and one of the presidential candidates, Cyril Ramaphosa, says the ANC versus ANC court battles are a sign that ANC members love the party. Well, speaking to SABC News, Ramaphosa said the ANC will try and strengthen internal systems for members to raise issues within instead of going to the courts.
For me, it shows a clear demonstration of the love that our members have for their movement, that they say we want to be in rather than be out. We want to be part of this process of renewing the ANC. And one of the proposals that are going to conference in terms of constitutional amendments is we should create a forum, a platform, a structure through which our members, rather than rush to court, will go to the structure that will be a dispute resolution structure. And it is actually quite interesting that the judge in another court case, which was launched just a week ago, actually admonished ANC members. And he said, you know, the modern thing now with disputes all over is to try and find a resolution for your disputes before you come to us to court. And we are hoping that we will cement that type of culture, that ANC members, ANC structures should first seek to resolve problems. Now, I see this in positive light, that our people love their movement so much. So what we need to do is to turn them inwards so that the problems are resolved.
Well, judgment in the matter between the ANC Bojanala region and its provincial structures in the matter relating to the existence of bogus branches is currently underway. The Bojanala regions want the outcomes of the regional conference nullified. Let's cross live.
Branch annual general meetings held during November 2016 to July 2017 in respect of several wards in the Madibeng, Rustenburg and Moses Kotane, which are within the Bojanala region. The irregularities were of a very serious nature, to the extent of being gross, in that the applicants were deprived of their constitutional right entrenched in Section 19(1)(b) of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, which confers on the applicants the right to participate in the activities of a political party of their choice. Furthermore, these rights are entrenched in Rule 23 of the African National Congress Constitution. The applicants escalated their grievances to the higher bodies of the ANC, to wit, the Secretary General and the PEC of the Northwest, without any satisfactory results. Consequently, the applicants were excluded from participating fully as of right in the proceedings of the branches and the regional conference because of the unlawful conduct of the respondents. The branch annual conference meetings and the establishment thereof, and the branch executive committees and all those structures of the ANC in which the applicants were entitled to participate were not lawfully constituted, and thus impact on the proceedings and decisions taken at those meetings. A comprehensive, or rather comprehensive reasons for judgment will be handed down in due course, but for now, the following order is granted. Firstly, that the branch annual, or that the branch annual general meetings held during November 2016 to July 2017 in respect of the following branches were unconstitutionally and irregularly established and accordingly reviewed and set aside. They are Madibeng, Ward 1, 2, 5, 6, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 22, 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, 38, 39, and 41. Rustenburg, Wards 8, 16, 22, 25, 30, 34, and 39. Moses Kotane, Wards 2, 10, 14, 18, 22, 26, 30, and 33. 2. All the branch executive committees, interim executive committees, as well as those designated by the regional task team in respect of branches listed in paragraph 1 above and elected pursuant to the annual branch general meetings are unconstitutional and invalid, and therefore declared null and void. 3. Any decisions on the elections, nominations, mandates, candidates, and delegates at the said branch general meetings or annual branch general meetings in respect of branches listed in paragraph 1 and 2 above, held in pursuance to the impugned meetings referred to in paragraph 1 and 2 above are declared null and void and therefore set aside. 4. All the branch general meetings inclusive of its decisions, resolutions, and elections held during October to November 2017 for the purpose of electing delegates to the National Conference are irregular, invalid, and unconstitutional, and therefore set aside. The Regional Conference held on the 24th of September 2017, together with the decisions taken at such conference, are irregular, unlawful, and unconstitutional, and consequently reviewed and set aside. 6. The orders in paragraphs 1 to 5 above do not affect the rights of the delegates who have been elected at properly constituted branch general meetings of the Bujanala region to serve as delegates at any other conference of the African National Conference. 7. There is no order as to costs.
I agree.
I agree. Thank you. It's so ordered. What agents?
All right.
Judge President Monica Liu giving the orders on the case between the ANC and its Bujanala regional members. You remember that the disgruntled members of the ANC from the Bujanala region had brought the matter to court to have the regional conference that was held in September declared null and void. As you've just heard, the judge presiding over the case, President Judge Monica Liu, has just said that all of the end results of the regional conference in September have now been declared null and void and therefore set aside, but that it would only affect those members that were said to be irregular and that were said to be off from bogus branches. But right now I'm going to invite to talk to me the spokesperson of the African National Congress in the province, Mr. Modise, if he'll just step to sit with me. Good morning. You've been very confident that this case will be ruled in your favor. How do you feel now that Judge Monica Liu has just given those orders?
No, thank you, Lebo. Remember that as an organization, we must always appear confident, even though we are at the weak side in terms of the processes of the organization. But at the very same time, we respect the decision of the court, and I think, as indicated in the order, we'll go back to those branches, indicate what the process unfold, then rerun those branches, relaunch them again, because that's the decision of the court, and we respect that.
And might you have any idea what will then this mean going into the National Elective Conference tomorrow?
It doesn't have any impact, remember. It simply says those branches will not participate at the National Conference, and that's it.
But it affects the numbers, doesn't it, then going into the numbers of the delegates going into the conference?
It really does, from our part, which is a sad thing, but like I said, we respect the decision of the court, and we'll meet with the provincial leadership and take a decision on the way forward from here.
Thank you so much. I've been trying to find if I can find representatives of the applicants, of the people that really brought this case to court, but none of them is here today, and they've only been represented by their legal teams, which cannot be able to speak to us. For now, it's back to you in studio.
Thank you very much. Our report on the ground, they're giving us the judgment that has just been handed down on the ANC Bujanala case. Of course, it has been declared as being null and void with no order to costs. Meanwhile, the ANC has vowed that this weekend's conference will not be collapsed by disgruntled members.
ANC members on their final inspection of the conference venue. The walkabout was led by Secretary General Gwede Mantashe, who, like the entire national executive, will hand over the baton to the new leadership. Mantashe is satisfied with the preparations for the conference.
Conference is going to be successful. It is not going to collapse. Those who predicted a conference that will collapse, I'm sure they are disappointed already. They may try other tricks, but the conference is on its way to the proper ending of a conference of the ANC. It will be going to be the most organized.
The party is also confident that the elections will run smoothly.
By Sunday, we'll have a new president.
At the heart of many leaders' hopes is that this conference will restore unity within the deeply divided organization.
Almost all the leaders are saying unity is critical for the ANC to survive going forward. All of us are committed to unity. We want this conference to succeed.
This is a flaw of democracy, which will be demonstrated here from Saturday. I don't think there must be panic, there must be anxiety and so on. The ANC says its best in terms of adhering to its own democratic principles.
The road leading to this conference has been rocky, with an avalanche of court cases across provinces which have threatened to collapse it. The nomination process by the branches was marked in some cases by irregularities, which led to some of the court challenges. Montlengani Dipoko, SABC News, Nazareth, Johannesburg.
Well, the ANC spokesperson has reiterated that ill discipline will not be tolerated during the conference. Zizi Kodwa was speaking to the SABC News this morning on the sidelines of the conference.
I think what is important, we've got absolute commitment from the entire leadership of all provinces as heads of delegations, that they are committed to make sure they will help us to run a very smooth, disciplined conference. Should anybody, for whatever reason, one or two persons, think that they will come here to disrupt the conference, I can only give them and wish them well, because we're not going to allow any ill discipline and disruption. One person who tries anything, you'll be taken out of the conference without touching the ground, and will disqualify you as a delegate to this conference forever. And will subject you to any disciplinary action, which we think is important for the organization, because this conference must break with the past and make sure that we set at least the future from all ill discipline which we have seen so far. We want to make sure that we reasset the discipline, organizational and political discipline of the organization. So no amount of disruption, whatever views you might have, at the end of the day, you must respect the presidium. You must respect the chair when the chair of the presidium says, sit down, stop singing, and so on. So we want to reasset the authority of leadership, because at the end of the day, this conference, like I said yesterday, Peter, it's not about ANC. We are here on behalf of the nation. We are here, we are given a historical responsibility by history that ourselves were a leadership, but this organization is not for the ANC members. It's for millions of people who are watching, who are hopeful that at the end of this conference, their desire and aspirations shall be addressed.
Well, the majority of the Eastern Cape's nearly 650 delegates will be arriving in Johannesburg this morning for the ANC's highly anticipated 54th National Conference. They departed late last night, aiming to get some much-needed rest ahead of the 5-day conference. The province brings with it the third biggest voting bloc, largely supporting Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa.
In song and in dance, they jumped onto the coaches on a 1,000-kilometer journey to Johannesburg to play their role in the revival and renewal of the ANC as its 54th National Conference kicks off on Saturday. Apart from the crucial policy discussions set to take place, Africa's oldest liberation movement will also elect its new leader to take over the reins from President Jacob Zuma, whose term comes to an end. Branch nominations have confirmed Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa and former AU Commission Chairperson Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma as front runners. But the province is clear on who it will vote for to take the party forward.
Definitely confident that the Deputy President, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, will emerge in that conference as an ANC president to take ANC to another level. It's not a question of just supporting, but we are quite happy that we are not just putting people for the sake of putting them. We are putting people who are competent as deputy presidents. That's the reason why we don't have doubts and reason not to support a deputy president to become a president.
With the memories of the chaotic and violent provincial elective conference still fresh on their memories, the delegates have called for a peaceful and dignified national conference. As the bus pulls off, the Eastern Cape delegations carries with it hopes of a successful national conference that will elect leadership capable of restoring the party's dignity and unite its members going forward. Good night, SABC News, King Williamstown.
Well, Finance Minister Malusi Gigaba has also been giving what has been called a high-level meeting today to discuss the corruption scandal at Steinhoff. Treasury says that there are various stakeholders and they will be involved in the talks. However, we will be giving you more updates on that. For now, though, let's take a short break.
A very good morning to you, and thank you so much indeed for choosing Morning Live.
But I want to know the basic thing.
Griselda Lewis, SABC News, in Parktown, Johannesburg.
Zimbabwe, Mzondeli Mbeje, SABC News, Luanda, Angola.
Let's take a look at your market indicators.
Thanks for staying with Morning Live. Let's bring you your sports news.
Let's take a look at your satellite image.
Set the agenda for the day with Morning Live.
A lot of us rely on tech to survive, and Africa is already a mobile-first continent.
We build mobile technology that connects motorcycle taxis to commuters and businesses in real time.
My phone was the most important thing.
Africans are using technology to innovate. On Network, we have African technology and social media news. Even robots have heard about us.
Hello, watch Network on SABC.
For African technology and social media news, join Ms. Phumelele Zondi on Network every Sunday at 9 p.m.
Welcome back. We now cross back to Nasrec, which is a hive of activity this eve of the 54th ANC National Elective Conference. We are joined by Professor Somadoda Vikene, a political analyst. A very good morning to you, Professor. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Firstly, I'd like to get your reaction of news just in of the High Court, or rather the judgment that has been handed down with regards to the ANC Bojanala conference, which has been declared null and void. Essentially, what does this mean going into the elective conference this weekend?
It will certainly weaken somewhat the side which was being supported by the province, but at the same time it will not change in any dramatic way the pattern of nomination and the standing of branches.
Indeed, let's get back to the issue at hand, specifically the kickoff of the 54th ANC Elective Conference. As an academic, why is this conference so different from its predecessors?
Well, I do think that the significance of this conference could only be compared either to the one in 2007, when ANC had difficulties in terms of smooth transition. But this one might even be more defining because it's a do or die for the ANC. And if ANC does not revive from this particular conference and correct some of its mistakes, it's likely to be punished in subsequent elections, be it 2019 or 2024. But it still has a chance of reviving. But it is also about how they deal with a number of legal challenges and irregularities in governance, the state capture, which will be determined by the outcome of the leadership in this conference, and ultimately might lead to either the persuasion of the president to step down or his recall.
Now take us through some of the factions that have been marred specifically in the run-up to the conference, not only the ANC's Bojanala case and the judgments that have been handed down, but the various other judgments and cases that have been brought to the fore in other provinces, in KZN as well as in the Northwest and Mpumalanga.
I think ANC is facing an unprecedented deluge of court cases because in KZN, the election of the current leadership was generally nullified, and that also was followed by the case in the Free State, which was trying to challenge, the leadership of the province, which has extended its existence by a considerable period since the beginning of the year. You also have been having the Eastern Cape Conference being challenged, but that now has had a ruling which favors the new leadership. In virtually every other region, Northwest, Northern Cape, you had these court cases. But by look of things, they may not necessarily affect the branches which are coming to the conference. If anything, they may impact on the provincial executive committees which may be coming to the conferences.
Now let's go back to your comments with reference to state capture and how important it is specifically during this time.
Well, I think it is one of the most important issues because state capture has come to be a metaphor for the patronage system, the corruption that has engulfed the state to a point of paralyzing it from performing its duties. And that in itself became a rallying point for the opposition parties going to the local government elections and the previous election. And it has been a rallying point for the opposition parties going to courts against the president in the main and the state-owned companies. And ANC itself is quite divided in the campaign for leadership. Those supporting President Zuma and by extension supporting Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma hardly ever mention the issue of state capture and corruption as a matter of emphasis. Their emphasis is on radical economic transformation. But those supporting Cyril Ramaphosa, and Cyril Ramaphosa himself has been quite strong on the issue of corruption, the state capture, and the fact that this matter ought to be carried out quite swiftly. So you can almost tell what is going to happen should one candidate win or the other one win, even though most of these cases now are in the hands of commissions or court cases.
Now, what is your forecast with regards to the dynamics, regardless of the outcome from this weekend's conference?
My prediction is that irrespective of who wins this weekend, it's unlikely that President Zuma will see his term through to 2019 because of the political cost of carrying him. And the fact that next year seemed to be a year which will be a very busy and negative year for him in legal terms, because he'll be in the commissions of inquiry, he will be going in and out of court cases, and he will be also appealing other court cases. That might actually be one of the issues that may be raised in this conference as to whether he would have the stamina, the political stamina that is, to continue without damaging the brand ANC and its reputation if he will be in and out of court cases. But that also extends to other members of the executive committee and those aspiring to be in the executive committee, because state capture has been a wide web net which has impacted on a number of political leaders. So the voters for ANC leadership may also be taking that into account to say, what if some of the leaders, as soon as they elect them, may be in and out of commissions and court cases?
Now, leadership aside, let's have a look at the characteristics of division within the ANC going forward.
Well, if we're looking at the characteristics of divisions within the ANC itself, you may find that there are those who want to reform and revive the ANC. by looking at some of the lost ground in terms of its values, its principles. And those who also want to make sure that they bring back those who have been left outside, be it the tripartite alliance, the veterans. But there are those who want a dominant faction to simply go ahead with its program with the hope that a policy rhetoric of radical economic transformation may woo voters who may think of land, who may think of this promise of redistribution and begin to vote for the ANC. So those are different perspectives that we are beginning to see emerging. But on the question of unity, you find both sides talking about unity, but that unity, if you start scratching below what it means different things to the different camps. One is unity of trying to make sure that ANC doesn't split and everyone is accommodated. Others are saying unity, but at the same time it should be based on principles, and those who have done something wrong should account for that without dragging the party down that route.
Indeed. Thank you very much for joining us. Coming to us live from Nasrec is Professor Somadede Bekeni, of course, taking us through what we can expect in the prelude to the 54th ANC elective conference, which is set to take place and start tomorrow. Moving on, though, Finance Minister Malusi Gigaba has called a high-level meeting today to discuss the corruption scandal at Steinhoff. Well, we do know that Treasury says that various stakeholders will be involved in the talks, including the CEO initiative, the Manufacturing Circle, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, as well as the Independent Regulatory Board for Auditors. Well, the company has suffered another blow. Businessman Christo Wiese has stepped down as chairperson of Steinhoff. He says that he offered to resign to reinforce independent governance of the company. Steinhoff has accepted Wiese's resignation and appointed Heather Sun, a member of its supervisory board, to act as chairperson. The company moved its primary share listing from Johannesburg to Frankfurt 2 years ago and has been under investigation for suspected accounting irregularities in Germany since 2015. Well, 4 current and former managers are under suspicion of having lied about revenues at subsidiaries. Political analyst Professor Tiniko Maluleke says it's important to focus on private sector corruption as much as public sector corruption. He was earlier responding to comments made by Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa during an exclusive interview with SABC News on the Steinhoff scandal. Ramaphosa says people who are involved in corruption must be followed up without fear of prejudice. Professor Maluleke also placed emphasis on this. Well, we'll give you more updates on that and show you that clip in just a bit, though. Moving on to the SABC strike, the CCMA has offered to mediate in the wage dispute between the SABC and unions Mamau and CWU. A meeting is set to take place today. Staff affiliated to the unions went on strike yesterday to demand a 10% salary increase. The SABC is offering 4.5% backdated to October, but only to be paid out next year. Well, still continuing, the federal executive of the DA has suspended City of Cape Town Mayor Patricia de Lille from all party activities. Well, this follows ongoing investigations into a series of reports and an affidavit containing allegations of maladministration. She has also been asked to give reasons why she should not resign as mayor. The DA spokesperson Phumzile Van Dam says the subcommittee found sufficient management and governance-related challenges prevalent in the DA's City of Cape Town caucus. Several issues the subcommittee looked into included de Lille's shutting down of the city's Special Investigations Unit, which resulted in a spat between her and the mayoral committee member for Safety, Security and Social Services, J.P. Smith. In October, the DA placed de Lille and Smith on special leave from party activities while the investigation took place. Well, we will shortly speak to DA spokesperson Phumzile Van Dam on the suspension of Patricia de Lille as well as the reasons Do stay tuned to ANC or up to SABC News for that. For now, though, let's have a short break. Do stay tuned to Newsroom with myself, Shanti Aikis, and team.
The ANC's 54th National Conference is here. The branches have spoken. From the 7 candidates, 2 are leading. Who will emerge victorious? SABC News will bring you the National Conference coverage live from Naswick Daily on TV, radio and digital platforms from 16 December. Take your evening well-informed with primetime news.
Thanks for tuning in. You're watching SABC News Prime. The burning land reform issue was also a point of discussion on the first day.
If you do not have a skills revolution, you will run into the kind of problems that we're having at the moment.
We have funded about 466,000 students, out of about 800,000 students that are in the university system.
South Africa says insufficient electricity and water remains one of the biggest barriers to development and prosperity on the continent.
The top 4 batsmen in the squad, Hashim Amla, Quinton de Kock, Faf du Plessis and AB de Villiers, are certainties in the starting lineup.
I really believe we cover all bases when it comes to spin bowling, seam bowling, proper pace bowling and an amazing batting lineup.
Stay tuned every Monday to Sunday from 6 p.m.
Well, Pumzile Van Dam joins us now from SABC Parliamentary Studio in Cape Town. A very good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us. Firstly, what is the latest concerning the decision of Federal Executive on the City of Cape Town Mayor Patricia de Lille?
I'm really struggling to hear you, but I hope you can hear me. So what happened is earlier this year, the Federal Executive was made aware of issues in the DA caucus of the City of Cape Town. The Federal Executive then resolved to form a subcommittee chaired by our Chief Whip in Parliament, John Steinhoff. The subcommittee interviewed several people in the City of Cape Town and tabled a report before the Federal Executive. The contents of this report were serious enough that the Federal Executive decided that the Mayor of Cape Town should be placed under suspension pending the conclusion of further investigations.
And what are some of the reasons behind the move? Can you give us an idea of what the broad terms, which include some of the allegations of maladministration?
Well, the report has been provided to the Mayor of Cape Town, Patricia de Lille, and she's been given until Monday to provide reasons. So until the opportunity has been given to her and we've had sight of her response, I'm not at liberty to disclose what the contents of the report are, but I can say that they're serious enough to have warranted a suspension.
Now, are you able to give us details as to what essentially the expulsion from party activities actually means?
Well, in terms of the DA's rules, this is the question that everyone has been asking. Why have we not suspended her as a Mayor of Cape Town and all in party activities? The DA is very serious about ensuring that we separate party activities from the state. So in terms of the DA's rules, there's no provision made to remove a member of the executive, be it in a city, be it in a province, from their position. We can only do so to suspend them from party activities. There are only 2 ways in which an executive can be removed. It is one, through a termination of membership after a federal legal commission process, or through a motion of confidence, a motion of no confidence by the council or whichever executive body the implicated person belongs to. So in terms of the DA's rules, there's no provision made for that.
Now, the DA has been very vocal against corruption. Now the ANC says that you are the same. What is your reaction to that?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last bit of what you said.
Essentially, what is the DA's stance on being very vocal with regards to corruption?
Yes, we are a party that's very, very vocal against corruption. We want to make sure that where we govern, we do so to ensure that we spend the money that is entrusted to us carefully. That is why DA governments repeatedly come out with clean audits. So where there are allegations of impropriety, we immediately come in and deal with them. So we're absolutely a party that stands very, very firmly against corruption.
Now, when essentially can we expect a final outcome on the matter?
Well, it's a little bit difficult to say because I don't know what the mayor's response will be. So the federal executive will consider this and consider the report and then advise in due course what the way forward will be. But our commitment is really to the people of Cape Town. There is currently a drought crisis in the city of Cape Town. We want to make sure that government continues to function so we can continue delivering services, ensuring that we're dealing with what is a huge drought issue in the city of Cape Town and the rest of the Western Cape.
Thank you very much for that. That was DA Member of Parliament Phumzile Van Dam from SABC Parliamentary Studios in Cape Town. We thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we will be giving you all your sporting news. Of course, we do know that our sports anchor, Kendall Makamate, is standing by. Over to you if you are ready for us, Kendall.
Shante, thank you very much. Yes, it is time for sport ahead of a very busy weekend. Good morning to you. My name is Kendall Makamate, and we start off this sports bulletin by talking about the South African Under-20 football team, which is advanced to the final of the Under-20 COSAFA Cup tournament in Zambia. Amajita beat Egypt for a second time in less than a week to reach the final of the regional tournament. Luvuyo Mkachana scored the only goal of the match late in the first half. South Africa will be playing neighbours Lesotho in Saturday's final. We'll move on to other soccer news, and we talk about how more teams from rural areas have been added to the popular New Year's Cup football tournament to be hosted in Grahamstown and Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape. The tournament, which kicks off this weekend, is the brainchild of the Spain's La Liga. It aims to promote football tournaments and football development in South Africa. 32 teams countrywide are expected to benefit. All right, now.
A well-supported launch for the event that promotes amateur football in the country. South Africa is one of the African countries identified for this pilot project run by La Liga. Players that have been identified by scouts will be afforded an opportunity to test their skills with various PSL clubs where they will be groomed and nurtured.
So last year, the players coming from New Year's Cup went to Mamelodi Sundowns, another one goes to Free State Stars. So for this year, at least they'll be participating in a friendly games around January.
It is important because we believe that it helps us to identify talent. It helps us to ensure that those that we trained, coaches and administrators, are able to implement the skills or the training that was given to them. It also ensures that players who play here get an opportunity to be seen and play at a higher level.
Defending champions Maru Football Club wants to keep the trophy in Grahamstown.
We are very prepared for this tournament. We are so prepared, and this tournament we want to keep it. This cup we're going to win it again. We are so confident we're gonna win it.
The program is part of SAFA's vision for 2022 to identify young players that will one day represent their country. Teams will start arriving on Friday. The competition kicks off on Saturday and will run until the end of December. Zolani Moya, SABC News, Grahamstown.
And so, in news that's come out overnight is the Premier Soccer League found Orlando Pirates guilty of contravening the NSL rules after the unruly behaviour of spectators during a match with Mamelodi Sundowns last year. Nearly 1 year on from the events at Loftus Festival Stadium, where fans invaded the field during Pirates' defeat to Masandawana, it appears the matter seems to have come to an end now, although no sanction has been meted out yet. All this expected for next year. Now let's have a quick look at what's happening with regards to fixtures in the Absa Premiership for this weekend. As you can see behind me, we've got a match on tonight in Cape Town. Where Cape Town City FC are up against Amazulu. Interesting. Cape Town City's stats look very interesting. They played 15 and won 5 and lost 5, drawn 3, and it's looking quite interesting how they're going to do. The goal difference is also on 0. But tomorrow we've got a whole host of matches. Polokwane City, they travel to Port Elizabeth to take on Chipa United. Mamelodi Sundowns will look to extend their 5-point lead at the top of the log against Bloem Celtic. This match being played at Loftus. These two matches kicking off at 3:30 p.m. tomorrow. 6 p.m. is Orlando Pirates against Free State Stars. They're second on the log, mind you. You remember that right now. Kaizer Chiefs up against Ajax Cape Town at the Moses Mabhida. And also kicking off at 8:15, same time as the Chiefs-Ajax match, is their Bidvest Wits against Platinum Stars. You remember Wits have been sitting bottom of the log, and it seems like the defense of their title is all but over now. Golden Arrows up against Maritzburg United, and Baroka FC is Supersport United. Those are the two matches for Sunday, the 17th of December. Now at Kingsmead and Durban, where the second Ram Slam T20 Challenge semi-final was to have been played last night, the Dolphins have ended up advancing to the final of the tournament, where they'll face the Titans in Pretoria. This after their semi-final against the Cape Cobras was rained out, making it 5 out of 6 matches in Durban that ended up being rained out in this year's Ram Slam T20. Now we stay with cricket, and it's day 2, session 3 of the third test in the Ashes series. Australia were trailing by 267 runs with 8 wickets remaining in the first innings. Now here's a quick look at some of the proceedings in the Australian innings so far.
That's nicely done. Warner into line, make sure that his game is in order and just knocks it back. Stroke. It's a stroke Sachin Tendulkar well between the wickets too. Oh, that'll be 4. Just the one run out. Just the one run out in 4. Oh, he's gone, Dave Warner, straight after the drinks break. How often do you see that? Loss of concentration and over to... Oh, that's worth a shout. Fell over a little bit there.
Murray impact in line and hitting the stumps. You need to reverse your decision. Wait for the call. You're on screen.
Well, that's a very good review.
Before I bring you on to the next story, I'll have you know that currently sitting on 149 for 2 is Australia. They trailed by 254 runs with 8 wickets remaining in their first innings. Now, the biggest sponsor of the United States Gymnastics team, Procter & Gamble, has announced that it's in the process of reviewing its relationship with this team. This follows in the wake of the 60-year term handed down to former team doctor Larry Nassar, who was found guilty of molesting athletes under his charge over the span of 4 different Olympic Games. Nassar pleaded guilty in a Michigan court to 7 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct last month. Responding to a report it had dropped its sponsorships in the wake of a sexual abuse scandal involving a former team doctor, Procter & Gamble said it had fulfilled the terms of its deal. The United States Gymnastics confirmed yesterday that Procter & Gamble and Kellogg's had completed their sponsorship contracts, and they've been the biggest sponsors of U.S. Gymnastics since 2013, while Kellogg's sponsored the national tours. That is where we're going to leave it for now. We'll be back again at the top of the hour. Before we do anything else, let me see if we've got time for the weather. We might just have time to give you the weather right here on Newsroom.
your weekly dose of art and entertainment news, tune into Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1.
Hearing loss, also known as hearing impairment, is a partial or total inability to hear. Hearing loss may be mild, moderate, severe, or profound. It can affect one ear or both ears and leads to difficulty in hearing conversational speech or loud sounds. To understand these profound types of hearing loss, we spoke to an audiologist from 4 Ways Into Care, Taryn Richardson.
So there's different types of hearing losses that you get. You get normal hearing, where the ear system is absolutely fine and we hear normally. Then you get a type of hearing loss which is more permanent in nature, that we might call it inner ear hearing loss. And that affects, if you have a look here at the diagram, the inner ear hearing loss will affect more deeper down into your ear system. So the outer ear hearing losses will affect the outer ear. The middle ear hearing losses will affect the middle ear. So some of these hearing losses are more permanent, some of them can be fixed. So for example, a more middle ear hearing loss like an ear infection, we can send a patient to a doctor, to the ear, nose and throat specialist, and they can often get a grommet, get operated on, get medication, and we can often fix a middle ear problem with a hearing loss.
People who are hard of hearing usually communicate through spoken language and can benefit from hearing aids, cochlear implants and other assistive devices.
Hearing aids or hearing instruments definitely help people hear better, especially if they have got an inner ear hearing loss, a more permanent hearing loss. In middle ear hearing loss, hearing aids can also help for if we can't solve the problem surgically or we don't want to solve the problem surgically.
Hearing loss may result from genetic causes, complications at birth, certain infectious diseases, chronic ear infections, the use of particular drugs, exposure to excessive noise and aging.
Hearing loss is very hereditary a lot of the time. So we've always got to monitor the siblings as well as the children to make sure that it hasn't been passed down. And if you have got a hearing loss that you know is hereditary, then I always advise that you monitor your family's hearing as well.
Overall, it is suggested that half of all cases of hearing loss can be prevented through public health measures.
We do it soft and soft and soft. On a day-to-day basis, the main things to look out for is noise, I would say. So wearing hearing protection when you are exposed to very loud noise, dangerous noise. So I'm talking things like music when you're right next to a speaker in a very loud nightclub. If you are going shooting, you need to wear hearing protection. If you're working with noisy machinery, anything that's got excessive noise, you need to wear hearing protection. Otherwise, avoid those situations.
Most people would ask if there's anything family and friends can do in order to communicate better with someone who's suffering from hear loss.
Hearing loss is not only about the individual with the hearing problem, it's about the family because it affects the family as well. So things that we always advise our patients is to bring their family member into the consultation where we sit with them and we explain to them that there's different communication strategies that they can employ. Like, for example, looking at their spouse when they're talking to them, not talking to them by walking away and putting their backs to them. They need to always sit in a more lighted area. If you go to a restaurant, choose the area in that restaurant that's not so noisy, that's a little bit brighter, that you can use facial cues to aid in your conversation and your hearing.
It may be worth booking a test with your nearest audiologist if you find yourself saying, "What?" and "Sorry, could you repeat that?" You will know that it is time to take action and get your hearing tested.
Welcome to Media Monitor, the show that analyzes the big news stories that made headlines. We bring you robust discussions on stories that made headlines in the week, where we interact with media analysts to unpack these top stories. Join me every Sunday morning from 9 to 10 Central African Time as I bring you riveting news and analysis.
Stay tuned to Media Monitor every Sunday from 9 a.m.
Show me a greater power on the whole continent of Africa. Show me a greater power anyway.
6th of June 1918 was the establishment of our movement to maintain that.
We need to do something about the educational upliftment of the Afrikaner, and we also need to do something about the economic upliftment of the Afrikaner. And that was the two main goals at that stage in 1918.
The Broederbond never was a cultural organization. It was a state-capturing organization. It is, in fact...
I like that term.
It has captured the financial systems. It has captured the parastatals. It has captured cultural organizations.
For all your constitutional and legal matters, tune into Rights and Recourse on Sundays between 2 and 3 Central African Time.
Good morning to you. Welcome to Newsroom. We're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios at SABC. I'm Shante Yankees. Standing by with your sports is Kendall Makamate. Very good morning to you, Kendall. You good morning?
Yeah, no, good morning. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I'm looking forward to actually finding out how the weekend's going to pan out with everything going on out in Nasrec, as well as in the sports, of course.
Of course, speaking of Nasrec, let's have a look at our question of the day. What are your hopes from the ANC's 54th elective conference? We're having a look at tweets and comments coming in. The first one in here saying hope for a CR17 to come out victorious. I think that's got to do with sports, no?
Oh, no, absolutely. No, it's
about
Cyril
Ramaphosa,
That is correct. You're spot on. They're trying to do the whole CR7 thing,
We see what you did there. We see what you did there.
Nazim Propum says delegates need to respect the outcomes of the conference. We don't want to see blood flowing from flying chairs. Yes, you know what? That's so important that we're repeating that particular tweet. Please vote and don't.
And one more coming in here saying good results is what I'm looking forward to, and those good results is hashtag CR17 than NDZ. The winner, the NDZ, the loser, the ANC.
Nkuthala reckons if NDZ wins, the ANC loses. That's what Nkuthala reckons. We also have a poll for today, which is another weighty matter that we've been dealing with the entire morning, and it's about what's happening in the DA out in Cape Town. The former mayor, Patricia de Lille, has been suspended from all party activities.
Definitely. We've gotten some views there as well as reaction from the spokesperson, Pumzile Van Dam. Do stay tuned for that. But firstly, do you think A, it's fair, B, it's unfair, or C, you just don't care? Well, 62% of you just don't care, 17% think that it's unfair, and 21% of people on Twitterville today say that it's fair.
You know, 661 votes that have come in, and the overwhelming majority really do not care about what's going on with DA politics. You know, it speaks to a lot of issues which I'm sure we can unpack at some point.
Yeah,
but we do have comments from you on Twitter. Let's see what you're saying. Why are you saying that?
First one coming in, let's talk after 12 midday and see if she's still the mayor. She's as good as gone, and actually she's gone. It's just a matter of time for our DA to make it official. Well, speaking to Pumzile Van Dam, saying that it's actually not going to affect her position as yet, so we'll have to wait on a result and a final comment on that.
Very interesting, because we know Patricia de Lille has a very weighty constituency behind her. Or do they think that it's gone? What's going on in the DA? Tsunami says, well, Patricia de Lille, our DA Helen Ziller, and de Lille is still the mayor? What's the difference?
What is the difference?
Ask Tsunami.
I don't know what the difference is, but maybe we'll have some differences in sports. With the last one, they want to remove her as mayor, plain and simple. That one they're coming in from Queen Gouda. No, back to the sports, yes?
Absolutely. Mahafano, thank you for that one. Sporting-wise, let's see if you're going to comment on this one as well. My Amajita, they're in the final.
Go boys, go.
Oh, yes. The Kusafa Under-20 final. They're playing Lesotho. Please, send us your messages of support for the team. Let's see what you think they're going to do and make sure that we can G them up to win that final.
Sipana saying, good luck to Amajita. We are proud of you guys.
And Craig Lavita says, well done, Amachita, and good luck with the final. Bright, Bafana future, says Craig Lavita.
Last one coming in here. SA has something to smile on national soccer. I don't see Lesotho beating South Africa. Well, we're just going to have to wait and see, won't we?
Oh, yes.
Well, for now, though, let's have a look at your headlines before we continue. The High Court in the Northwest has declared the ANC Bojanala Regional Conference invalid. The Pietermaritzburg High Court is expected to deliver judgments on the ANC KZN Provincial Executive Committee appeal against an earlier court nullifying the 2015 elective conference results. The City of Cape Town Mayor Patricia de Lille's job as a mayor hangs in the balance, as she has been asked to give reasons why she should not resign. The Steinhoff's board chairperson, Christo Wiese, steps down as Treasury calls high-level meeting to discuss the corruption scandal at Steinhoff. And Kendo Makamate is standing by with all your sporting headlines.
Shante, thank you very much. Good morning to you. A massive weekend ahead of us. Let's start off with stories about how our young boys are doing. Now, South Africa's under-20 football team is proving to be a paragon of excellence as they beat Egypt for the second time in a week, advancing to the final of COSAFA's age group tournament.
I commit that this matter will receive the highest priority in accordance with the law.
Nearly a year after the occurrence, the Premier Soccer League has found Orlando Pirates guilty of contravening NSL rules following the unruly behavior of spectators in a clash with Mamelodi Sundowns.
He's gone, Dave Warner, straight after the drinks break.
It's day 2 of the third test in the Ashes series between Australia and England, and it's shaping up to be a humdinger of a run chase as the hosts look to knock down England's 403-run all-out score. Now, the latest score in that match is 169 for 2, and let's see how it's going to pan out for the rest of the day. For now, it's back to Shante, who's got the news.
We open up this hour's bulletin with breaking news. The High Court in the Northwest has declared the ANC Bojanala Regional Conference invalid. Tokyo, Madeboga and 39 other wanted the court to set aside the outcome of the ANC's September Regional Elective Conference. Well, part of their argument was that if the outcome was not set aside and was not set aside as illegitimate, delegates would be attending the National Elective Conference, which starts at Nasrec in Johannesburg tomorrow. They also argue that the illegitimate delegates from about 40 of the 154 branches in Bojanala, which comprises of Rustenburg, Brits and Moretele, were illegitimate delegates who attended the conference. Well, this is how Judge President Monica Liu delivered down judgment.
For now, the following order is granted. Firstly, that the branch annual general meetings held during November 2016 to July 2017 in respect of the following branches were unconstitutionally and irregularly established and accordingly reviewed and set aside. They are Madibeng, Ward 1, 2, 5, 6, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 22, 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, 38, 39, and 41. Rustenburg, wards 8, 16, 22, 25, 30, 34, and 39. Moses Kotani, wards 2, 10, 14, 18, 22, 26, 30, and 33. 2. All the branch executive committees, interim executive committees, as well as those designated by the regional task team in respect of branches listed in paragraph 1 above and elected pursuant to the annual branch general meetings are unconstitutional and invalid and therefore declared null and void. 3. Any decisions on the elections, nominations, mandates, candidates and delegates at the said branch general meetings or annual branch general meetings in respect of branches listed in paragraph 1 and 2 above, held in pursuance to the impugned meetings referred to in paragraph 1 and 2 above, are declared null and void and therefore set aside. 4. All the branch general meetings inclusive of its decisions, resolutions, and elections held during October to November 2017 for the purpose of electing delegates to the National Conference are irregular, invalid, and unconstitutional, and therefore set aside. The Regional Conference held on the 24th of September 2017, together with the decisions taken at such conference, are irregular, unlawful, and unconstitutional, and consequently reviewed and set aside. 6, the orders in paragraphs 1 to 5 above do not affect the rights of the delegates who have been elected at properly constituted branch general meetings of the Bujanala region to serve as delegates at any other conference of the African National Conference. 7, there is no order.
Judge President Monica Liu giving the orders on the case between the ANC and its Bujanala regional members. You remember that the disgruntled members of the ANC from the Bujanala region had brought the matter to court to have the regional conference that was held in September declared null and void. As you've just heard, the judge presiding over the case, President Judge Monica Liu, has just said that.
Indeed, let's cross over now live to Nazrek with the official briefing of the press conference.
Still, he or she will be asked if he accepts that nomination. That is the only change on things that we've been announcing regarding the conference itself. Otherwise, we're on the road to a good conference. There have been 2 judgments that came out this morning. The first one is the Northwest. It has nothing to do with the National Conference. It has everything to do with the Bujanala Regional Conference. That regional conference has been nullified. A number of BGMs that were preparing for that regional conference have also been nullified. But the beauty of it is that the BGMs for the National Conference were organized separately as BGMs for the National Conference. So what we're going to be looking at is whether that will impact on those delegates, but we'll look into that. But what we know is that if you nullify the process to the regional conference, they cannot automatically nullify processes to the national conference because they had separate BGMs for the national conference. That is one. We're still waiting for a formal confirmation of the outcome of the judgment in execution case in case at end. If it nullifies that PEC, the impact of that will be on the 27 PEC members who come to conference. You want me to repeat that again? No. The judgment doesn't talk about the branches. The judgment talks about nullifying a conference. And therefore, the product of that conference is not a branch, it's the PEC. Therefore, the impact of that judgment, if it nullifies that conference, will be the 27 allocated PEC members who are in conference. For example, if I'm a member of the PEC and I'm a branch delegate, I will still come to conference as a branch delegate. There are few of them who are like that. Okay. Otherwise, registration is going well. We've set up an office there to listen to those who raise issues so that we don't have queries going to the plenary of conference. Want to clean them in the registration center. That's what we're doing. Thank you very much. I think let's take questions.
Yeah? Thank you, SG. SABC, Al Jazeera, I love that. Al Jazeera, CCTV, Russia TV. Okay. Start with SABC. Very important.
Okay. My name is Muntengan from SABC. SG, can we just clarify this issue of Northwest? Because we are told that, the number of branches have ballooned from 200 and something to 200 and something this time around. We are told that the numbers of of delegates coming from the Northwest has ballooned as a result of this, devious branches. What does this Bujanala, what does this ruling of mean about Bujanala? Does it mean that those branches will now be nullified, or will they be allowed to come to this conference?
Al Jazeera.
SG, are you confident that the candidate that wins will unify the ANC? And do you
No. Please don't use it. I think there's something wrong with the system. It's either you bring it closer or...
SG, do you expect that the winner, the leader, the one who becomes ultimately the new president of the ANC, will unify the party? And do you...
I don't hear that.
Can you speak without it?
Take it out. Speak without it. It went down further.
No, we expected the new party leader to unify the ANC.
Come closer.
Hopefully they will work.
You must not be... I don't want you to be interpreted. I want to hear you from you.
Do you expect that the new president of the ANC is going to unify the party?
I can't hear you.
The new leader?
Will unify the party.
And,
will the new leader of the ANC unify the party?
And then my second question is, do you expect that everyone is going to accept whatever outcome will be, despite all of these different court challenges?
Will everyone accept the outcomes of a conference? Thank you, Al Jazeera. Russia TV, France 24, German TV. Yes, German TV. Yan.
It's me or... Okay, me or him?
Him.
Sorry. I was late, and apologies if this was covered already before I came, but the decision of the NEC yesterday, will you be able to complete the counting by Sunday and announce the results on Sunday, after the decision that the top 6 will be elected in one go? It's a lot of votes.
The question is, when can we expect the results? Last question.
Okay. TV Mozambique is not a Russian TV. TV Mozambique, just the border, across the border.
It's on the way to Russia.
No. It's Mozambique, TV Mozambique. Thank you. 2 questions. One is, how many foreign delegations have confirmed participation in this ANC conference? We understand that Mozambique is sending a powerful delegation led by the former Prime Minister and a member of the Politburo, that we call their commission, political commission. The second question is, would you help journalists who are still stranded and they are not getting accreditation to get their accreditation? There are journalists who have been waiting for accreditation for 3 days now.
You can discuss that.
You can take that offline. That's not a matter of a press conference.
Thank you.
Accreditation of journalists does not belong here. I take your first question include diplomats and sister former liberation movements. Okay.
Can I go?
Yes.
I don't understand this balloon of membership. I know a balloon, you blow it, it goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and passes. So I don't understand the concept of membership ballooning. It's a strange concept. Membership is recruited and turned in one by one. So there can be no ballooning. In as far as Bujanala is concerned, the regional conference is nullified at the court. That's it. and regions have no voting power in the conference, by the way. We have given them 2 observers. Every region is given 2 observers. So it has no material impact on the conference itself. The only thing that may have an impact is the 20-something branches whose BGMs have been talked about in the judgment. But still, as I said, we had BGMs for the regional conference, which was held in September. We had from end of September to mid-November, towards the end of November, BGMs for the national conference, which was a separate exercise. So what we are going to be looking at, if, for example, the judgment says those delegates should not participate in any other activity of the organization, that is the only basis that we'll appeal judgment on, because you can't give a judgment on a conference and ban ANC members from participating in their political party, which they are voluntarily joining. We think that on that one, the judges misled us. That one we're going to challenge. But in terms of nullifying the regional conference, we'll comply with that. We'll reorganize a new conference, elect a new REC. Delegates to the national conference, which were in a different process, we don't think can be impacted by the judgment. Banning any ANC members from participating in other activities is actually judicial overreach. We'll not accept it. We'll appeal it. Will the new leadership unify the party? You should have been here yesterday. That was the simple thing we said. We say, we're hoping to come out of this conference unified. It's not a magic of the individual. It's a function of engagement in the conference itself, try to unify the body of the ANC. Because the unity is not the unity of leaders, it's the unity of the body of the ANC. That is what we're investing in. And the conference result has been a theme for some time now, including in the Last Supper of the President, and the 7 hopefuls at the time was about every one of them committing to accept the outcomes of the conference. So our view is that they will have to accept the result of conference. When will the result be announced? There will be nominations from the floor tomorrow, and actually beginning of the vote for the officials of the ANC. And those results will be announced on Sunday. After they are announced on Sunday, then we can proceed to the election of the NSA. So what is going to happen? How many foreign delegates? There are many. We've invited all the liberation movements. Okay, all of them are invited. We invited all parties that are friendly to us. Okay, Nordic, Social Democrats, everybody. We've invited all those parties. We invited a big contingent of diplomats. So there is no shortage of foreign representation in the conference. But what is important is that it is an ANC conference. You know, I love the CCP's policy. The Communist Party, the China Communist Party. China Communist Party, nobody is invited to their conference. It's a closed session for 7 days. It's the conference of the CCP for 7 days. I think it's the right approach because it gives the party space to engage and debate and develop policies on its own. Okay.
That is why we invited you as guests. Let me take the last round. Where is my mic? Right at the back. Say.
My name is Clive Ndo from the Witness newspaper.
From?
The Witness. The Witness. My question is around the Mpumalanga province unity nominations. What resolution has been taken around that? Thank you.
Samkele?
Thank you, Zizi.
SG, the ANC is involved in a lot of court litigations today. We're expecting the KwaZulu-Natal judgment on the PEC at 11:30. Then there is the Free State later on today in the afternoon at 2. Do you think that it's going to be a bad day for the ANC in court today, where you preempt that you may be losing a whole lot of cases? You've already lost the one in Bujanala this morning. And does this not cast any black cloud over the credentials issue for the national conference starting this Saturday? And do you anticipate that the credentials will be debated heavily by those who are disputing certain branches from being part of this conference? And lastly, in the Mail and Guardian, we saw a report that there are allegations of about 300 bogus delegates who will barge into the conference. Do you anticipate any disruptions that may take place today? Thank you.
Delegates to barge what?
The conference, 300 delegates, it is in the Mail and Guardian.
To do what?
To barge. They are not going to do that.
Okay. It does appear the court may have ruled in KZN to nullify the PEC, so you probably would have to get your own confirmation in that regard. But my question would be, I think leading up to this conference, there was a suggestion that the election of the officials will be staggered in order to try and eliminate the issue of slates. But we then gather that the NEC has decided to continue as per norm. So what was the thinking to then return to what we used to? Are you no longer valuing now that kind of unity we're trying to create by perhaps making sure that whoever gets elected does not necessarily go with their slate, but you get perhaps the best of their cadres?
Please pass it to Stephen Grootes right at the back. Are you covered?
SG.
This conference is going to run smoothly. If you don't have any question, SG.
SG.
Now, I hand over to you, the real SG.
I'm calling on the very important SG, Stephen Grootes. That is the SG. He has no questions because he wrote a long article on the Maverick yesterday. So he expressed his views on every aspect of the conference and the outgoing SG. Fine, welcome that, Stephen. Who was asking about the unity nomination? Who's that?
From Witness.
You see, the Witness, yes, Natal. Yeah, it's quite clear that you're very far from Johannesburg.
I think you arrived this morning.
Did you arrive this morning?
Yes.
There you are. That's why you're asking the same question that has been answered over and over. That's the disadvantage of being in the outskirts of the country. There's no body called unity, okay? We've repeated that over and over. And there will be no body called unity on the ballot paper of the ANC. Because if you are nominated, you have a branch, you have a membership number, you have not less than 10 years being a member of the ANC, and then we never had this member called Unity for the last 10 years. So there's no such a nomination called Unity, okay? And what will happen to that? We don't know what will happen to a non-existent nomination. Ayiko. Into unit, Ayiko. So it's a nomination which has names of human beings who are members of the ANC and leaders of the ANC. So there's no unity. Okay? Is it a bad day for the ANC? I don't know what a bad day is for the ANC. Every day is a good day for the ANC. And
But I said two court rulings in the morning ruling against you.
Come again?
2 court rulings. I'm just saying, as you just court ruling, I mean 2 court rulings in a day ruling against you. You don't see anything.
You see, the problem here as journalists is that you always spin things to suit you. If we're defying that judgment, what would you say? Would you say it's a good day? We say judicial doesn't run the ANC. Now, members have gone to the court, they have the right, they exercise it, we say we're accepting it, we respect it. Should that be bad? Is it bad that there's a judiciary that can actually protect members if they feel aggrieved? I don't know how bad is that. Maybe you'll have to educate me how bad that is. That's why I'm saying we'll accept that judgment. For example, we'll nullify that region and rerun it. That's it. If there is a PC nullified, we're giving you the impact. The impact is 27. Any PEC members who are allocated seats. If it is bad, it's bad that 27 of our PEC members will not be in conference. Then that is bad. Credentials will not be impacted by the judgments because credentials, let me give you an example. If that judgment nullifies a regional conference, it has no impact on the credentials because regions have no voting rights in the conference. They have been given 2 seats of observers. That's all. And that doesn't impact on the actual credentials of conference, which determines whether the conference can go or not go. Those are non-voting delegates from regions. So the judgment against a region doesn't impact on the credentials. The 300 delegates badging the conference, so say Mail and Guardian, I'm sure they have not come for a briefing on the security setup here. There will be no delegate who badges here. It's just not going to happen. Election process. Actually, to come to this point, went through 2 phases. First of all, we said, why don't we elect these officials one by one? We came back and said, but if you are nominated a president, you will not want to contest, you will want perhaps to contest the position of deputy president. But I'm not expecting anybody who contested the president to want to contest a deputy, a secretary general, a chairperson, and a treasurer general. And we said, no, this is stretching things too far. And then we said, let's have 2 sets of elections. President, chairperson, secretary, and treasurer general. All of those, 1. Then we come to the election of deputies. But a long discussion in the NEC yesterday was saying, it's actually trying to stretch things too far. Let's go to the election as normal. If you accept nomination for whatever position, you'll contest that position. If you fall, you'll go to the NEC. That's it.
Thank you, SG. That brings to an end the presser this morning. Thank you very much.
Indeed, that is just a wrap-up of the conference. Of course, the press briefing there taking place at Nasrec, south of Johannesburg, hearing from ANC spokesperson Zizi Kodwa, as well as Secretary General Gwede touching on comments of credentials, as well as the judgments that have been handed down this morning and the 2 judgments that are still pending, as well as the readiness. Both the spokesperson as well as the Secretary General, they're assuring the readiness ahead of the conference going forward. Moving on now, though, the Pietermaritzburg High Court will deliver their judgments today. Of course, we will be giving you more updates on not only that, but other ANC stories after the break.
Do you have a funeral policy?
No matter the sacrifices you've made or the hours you've worked, you can't always say yes. Avbob's cashback funeral plan not only provides funeral insurance for your family, but also helps you to say yes to life's little extras more often. Because for every 5 claim-free years, you'll get your 5th year's premiums based on your monthly premium value paid back in cash. SMS Cash 1 to 41790 at no cost, and we'll call you. Avbob, we're here for you.
If you want an AFBOB representative to contact you, SMS Cash 1 and your name to 41790.
I feel it's a real person.
And it's nutritious and delicious.
It's good. I really like it.
This celebrates being South African. We love our beer, we love our food, we love our music.
For knowing who you are going, you must know where you come from.
I'm excited to be part of this year.
For all your travel trends, catch us every Sunday, 12 midday on Channel 404.
Welcome back. Time for the sports. My name is Kendall Makhamat and you're watching Newsroom. Now, a full round of AFC Premiership matches will be played this weekend. Mamelodi Sundowns, who've got 2 matches remaining this year, will be hoping to finish the year at the top of the log. While Soweto Giants, Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs are desperate to end the year on a high after a disappointing 2017.
Disappointing year, Kaizer Chiefs will be looking to close off the year in style. They host struggling Ajax Cape Town at the Moses Mabhida Stadium on Saturday evening. Chiefs have a good record against Ajax and will be hoping to give their fans something to cheer about. Orlando Pirates, who have improved under the guidance of Milutin Sredojevic, visit Free State Stars. Goal scoring has been a major problem for the Buccaneers, a problem they need to solve, starting with this match. They will not have it easy in Bethlehem with the Emils team high on confidence after beating Cup specialist SuperSport United 1-0 on Wednesday. Top of the log, Mamelodi Sundowns have 2 matches to play before going on a Christmas break. Sundowns know that games in hands are not guaranteed points and will therefore go into both matches in search of maximum points. They host Bloemfontein Celtic, who are also in fine form since the arrival of Veselin Jelusic.
Look, I think it's always good to win the games, our catch-up games. And then last season we didn't do that. And I think we're happy that this season we're doing that.
Of matches kick off this evening with Cape Town City at home against AmaZulu at the Cape Town Stadium. Bottom of the log, Bidvest Wits will host Platinum Stars tomorrow evening, while on Sunday, Baroka FC and Golden Arrows will host SuperSport United and Maritzburg United respectively. Mamelodi Sundowns and SuperSport United will play their catch-up matches on Tuesday and Wednesday evening against Cape Town City and Bloemfontein Celtic. Bongane Morake, SABC News.
Now, the Dolphins progressed to the Ramslam T20 final after their semi-final against the Cape Cobras was abandoned without a single ball being bowled at Kingsmead in Durban last night. Not a single ball was bowled due to the persistent rain, which swamped the city for most of the day and throughout a frustrating evening for all those who turned up to watch the match. The umpire stuck around as late as possible before calling off proceedings. Now, the final outcome meant that the hosts progressed to Saturday's final against the Titans in Centurion by virtue of finishing above the visitors on the log. It was the 5th time in 6 T20s scheduled in Durban this season that weather has prevented a result from being reached, 4 of which without a ball being bowled. Saturday's final at Supersport Park in Centurion is set to get underway at 6 p.m. Now we stay with cricket. It's day 2, session 3 of the 3rd test in the Ashes series, and Australia were trailing by 267 runs with 8 wickets remaining in the first innings. Now a quick look at some of the proceedings in the Australian innings a little earlier on, and I'll give you an update just after that.
That's nicely done. Warner into line, makes sure that his game is in order and just knocks it back. Lovely stroke. It's a stroke Sachin Tendulkar well between the wickets too. Oh, that'll be 4. Just the one run out. Just the one run out in 4. Oh, he's gone, Dave Warner, straight after the drinks break. How often do you see that? Loss of concentration and over to... Oh, that's worth a shout. Fell over a little bit there.
Murray impact in line and hitting the stumps. You need to reverse your decision. Wait for the call, you on screen.
Well, that's a very good review.
The current score right now is Australia trailing by 214 runs, 7 wickets remaining. They're sitting on 189 for 3 in their 56th over. Now, we carry on with other news that's making headlines this morning, and we'll go to the United States, where the biggest sponsor of the U.S. Gymnastics team, Procter & Gamble, has announced that it's in the process of reviewing its relationship with the team. This follows in the wake of the 60-year jail term handed down to former team Dr. Larry Nassar, who was found guilty of molesting athletes under his charge over the span of 4 different Olympic Games. Nassar pleaded guilty in a Michigan court to 7 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct last month. Responding to a report, it had dropped its sponsorship in the wake of a sexual abuse scandal involving this former team doctor. Procter & Gamble said it had fulfilled the terms of its deal. Procter & Gamble has been the biggest sponsor of United States Gymnastics since 2013, while Kellogg's sponsored the national tours. Now, just a quick one before we let you go. A couple of things. Back to the football. We need to let you know that quite a lot of matches happening this weekend. We've got a match on tonight. That's out in Cape Town. And that's where Cape Town City FC will be trying to see if they can get back to winning ways against AmaZulu. Then, of course, on Saturday, we've got, 2, 4, 5 matches from Chipa to Sundowns, Free State Stars, Kaizer Chiefs and Wits playing hosts. All matches kicking off from 3:30 in the afternoon to 6, and then 8:15 at night will be the last matches. The last one, of course, Bidvest Wits, trying to see if they can turn their fortunes around. They'll be doing dismally this season. Of course, on Sunday, it's Arrows, who used to be top of the log, along with Baroka FC for the, I think it was about 10 rounds of matches. And then Baroka as well playing SuperSport United at the Peter Mokaba 3:30 kickoff there. Now, of course, we've got a big match going on this weekend. That's between, that's in the COSAFA Cup Under-20 final between Lesotho, and we've also got a match against Lesotho as well as Amajita, South Africa's Under-20 side. And they've got a big, massive match ahead of them. We know that Banyana did it. They won their COSAFA Cup. They're a version of the COSAFA Cup. We want to see if Amajita are going to be able to do it or not. And right there, as you can see, there's an entire team that's going to be contesting this particular match right here on your screen. Now, we've got some tweets that we want to share with the rest of you, messages of support for these young men as they go about their business. And really, the big deal there is we want to find out what's being said by you about exactly what's going on with it. As you can see, we are live with this. Philip Ditabe says, well, South Africa is something to smile on, national soccer. I don't see Lesotho beating South Africa, says Philip. And Nazim Khruapum says, you know what, Newsroom and Kendall, I'm proud of the boys. They must bring the cup home. Hashtag Amachita, hashtag SABC News. There you have it. We must keep them coming. Let's see, do we have another one? No, we don't. We'll make sure that we let you know what we've got for you. And I don't know if we're going to be able to see that last one or not, but if it is, there we go. It's right there behind me. And Tabo Quincy Peta says, nothing more simple than go, Amajita, go. Now there we go. Yeah, that's what we've got for you in the sports. And I'll tell you what, going into this weekend, there's lots on. We've got the elective conference as well, with Shante has been so ably covering with those back-to-back interviews with some weighty guests there. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, remember, you're still watching Newsroom.
Our stories.
How do I begin?
Our lives. When all seems to fail, we will raise our voices a bit louder for our justice.
Well, I went into absolute shock. My whole body was shaking. I couldn't hold a phone, but there he was. I couldn't believe the nonchalance that they were still in the area 2 weeks later.
And in times when the justice system is not able to help us with our individual battles,
I'm willing to do anything. What are you doing? Nothing. Feeling sorry for yourself? No, it's not an option.
These are our stories on Cutting Edge Channel 404.
Sports Live, Saturday and Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
All right, there you have it. We're pretty much done with the show for this week. It was really great actually interacting with all of our viewers on exactly what they expect Amajita to do and what they wish for Amajita. But I'm sure you also had quite a lot going on your side.
Oh, definitely. Specifically with regards to the ANC elective conference, which kicks off tomorrow, as well as all the judgments that have been handed down this morning, and some of those are still pending. So it is going to be an interesting prelude to the official start. And yeah, it's been a good week. Thank you very much for having me on Newsroom.
It's been fantastic. She is coming back next week, we hope. But we hope that you have a great weekend and go and do your thing. Go and vote at the election.
Definitely. Thank you very much for joining myself, Shante Yankis, and
Kendall Makhamati.
For now, though, let's have a look at your weather.
Well, a very warm welcome back. Let's take a look at what's happening in terms of the weather. We'll start off today by taking a look at our current situation. Here we're expecting quite a bit of storms to develop through Central African Republic here, as well as the DRC. We're expecting up to a 60% chance of showers in some of these regions, and that extends through, as you can see, the northern parts of Namibia all the way through Malawi for today. Expecting some storms, and indeed in some areas expecting it to rain almost throughout the entire day. So a lot of wet weather for Southern Africa's northern regions, as well as Northern Africa's southern regions. Well, Central Africa's southern regions, should I say. Taking a look at South Africa's weather today, we're expecting no continuous rainfall at all. We did see some morning drizzle, and that may still be continuing along the eastern escarpment. But for the most part, we're going to see a fairly mild day for today through South Africa. It's going to be a warm to hot one both today and tomorrow. But tomorrow, we see that low pressure systems are starting to connect from continental low pressures to coastal lows. And that's going to start to bring in quite a bit of rainfall through South Africa's central and interior. Storms expected primarily for tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening in that central interior and the eastern coastline. So be aware of that. Now, in a little bit more detail, this is what's going on in your city today. Cape Town peaks at 30 degrees Celsius. We're seeing temperatures in the northern parts of the country fairly warm, especially in the northwest. Uppington 39 and Springbok 34. It's going to be a little bit of wet weather forecast around the Mbombela area, and that's the morning drizzle we spoke of, but that really shouldn't last long and we should be left with just a partly cloudy day. Harare is at 24 degrees, expecting the wet weather and the cloud cover for today as well. Gaborone 33 degrees and Windhoek peaking at 35. Now Windhoek's not expecting rainfall at the moment, but will do most likely into tomorrow. So a dry day for today. Mahajanga 34 degrees Celsius. It's a hot one there in the northern parts of Madagascar. The capital 27 degrees in Antananarivo. If you're going to be back onto continental Africa, as we said, we're seeing a lot of cloud cover and a lot of rainfall in some areas, but towards the east around the Mombasa, Dar es Salaam area, well, we're just seeing a little bit of a lull in that rainfall there. Temperatures reaching above the 30-degree mark and humidity is high in these areas. Kinshasa and Brazzaville both peak at 32 degrees, both expecting wet weather, but moving north to Bangui, another sunny and dry day with a 40-degree maximum. Continues very hot in the area. Now, rainfall in the northern hemisphere of Africa is concentrated mostly towards the western regions. We do have some around Port Sudan and it's lighter rainfall, but towards the west and the northwest in particular, again expecting wet weather in Algeria's interior for today as well as for tomorrow. For tomorrow, though, we are going to expect that to migrate a little bit further north and mostly concentrate around Tunisia and the northern coastlines of Algeria. We're left with just some higher to mid-level cloud cover over the interior Sahara regions, Niger clear all the way throughout tomorrow, unlike today though. This is where we're going to leave your weather for now. Stay tuned with us here on the SABC.